Testing, one, two, three, testing, testing. I am coming on here early because the pretty girls are going really wild in the Discord right now. We're just like talking our shit. This is a creepyotical stream, by the way. So, if you are a creepyotical, meaning you're a gossiping exotical, you like spilling the tea, be sure to join the Patreon. But okay, let's go over one of these comments from the stream. And by the way, if you're in the Discord right now, I'm live. So wait, actually, hold on. Let me announce to the Discord that I'm live. And by the way, can you guys hear me okay? I hope that I'm not breathing too hard in the mic. I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. So I'm sitting here in my little bodysuit right now. How do you guys wear these bodysuits, by the way? Because I was just doing a little like light workout at the gym in my apartment. I'm wearing this little short sleeve bodysuit. It's like short sleeved and it has shorts, but I never wear these because I just feel like it makes my hips and butt look kind of awkward. I never like the shorts on the bodysuit because I feel like the way that they cut the shorts on the bodysuit, it just makes your hips look even skinnier. And it's like, okay, I like when the shorts have this cut where it's almost like a V cut. So kind of like going up the sides a little bit to kind of emphasize your hips. That's how I like my shorts to be cut. So that's part of why I don't wear these little bodysuits because I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's trying to make you look skinnier. Like that's the point of the bodysuit. So, but yeah, I'm wearing my bodysuit for the first time. Do you guys wear bodysuits? Hold on, let me take out my earring. This headphone is like crushing my ear. Okay, I'm back. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Shira's disciple is talking her shit. She said, "Who wants to buy a Mika hair products after Olandria put it on her wig? Laughing my ass off. Good hair, don't care." Yeah, did you guys see that bullshit? That was some bullshit. You have to admit, even if you're an Olandria fan, you have to admit that was some bullshit because in the commercial, Olandria was like, "Oh yeah, my hair." She kept referring to the unit as my hair. Meanwhile, that's the same thing that they talk shit about Exoticals doing. They say, "Oh well, these exoticals, they're wearing wigs and passing them off as their hair. Oh well, you're just trying to hide your naps under your wigs. You're trying to hide your black hair texture under blonde highlights and relaxers." That's what they were just Harmony Simone was just talking about the exoticals a couple weeks ago. Where's the energy for Olandria? She's got a whole lace front on talking about some, "Oh, well, I need this detangling spray." And it's like, first of all, if I paid $250 for a long Brazilian 1B 180 density unit, why would I then need to purchase a $30 detangling spray? Because I looked it up. It's $32 on Sephora. You can get it at Sephora or Ulta. So if I have to purchase an additional detangling product for my wig, then bitch, I bought the wrong wig. Why did I spend that much money on a wig if I have to then purchase a detangling spray for the wig? That's a sign that you wear bad wigs then. They're over here talking about exotical wigs. Where's the smoke for Olandra? Why does she have to purchase an additional product just to detangle the wig? Is your wig that nappy? Oh, and let's talk about that. Why do people use detangling sprays in the first place? Oh, that's right. It's because they don't like naps. That's what it is. But we are 30 minutes early, so I'm trying to save this topic for the actual stream time. But let me go back in the Discord because the exoticals were really talking their shit in here. So I'm not going to say you guys' names unless you guys want me to. You can come out and be like, and like talk your shit. But in the Discord, we were just talking about like the cities that we live in and like the places we've lived. And I've noticed that there's this trend in black female YouTube where it's like, "Oh, you can't move to Miami. You can't go to LA." Okay, first of all, bitch, if I'm gonna move to a city, if you don't have pretty privilege, why the fuck would you move to LA? Oh my God, I sound like such a mean girl, but it's like, seriously, if you don't have pretty privilege and you are moving to a place that has a lot of pretty privileged women and you're trying to get some sort of pedestal or you're trying to be male centered in some way, why would you move there? But let me look at some of these comments. This girl says, "Who's Harmony Simone?" She's a woman that she just talks shit about the exotical space. This person says, "Is Harmony Simone not an exotical?" She is a light skinned black woman, but I've noticed that she has a light skinned savior mindset. And a lot of times, women who are insecure about their light skin tone, they purposely target other light skinned women. They purposely target women who are more ambiguous than them or women who embrace their ambiguity. And they do that as a pandering tactic. They're pandering to unambiguous black women because they want to have that pedestal amongst unambiguous dark-skinned black women. They want that audience. Cynthia G is another great example of somebody who does that. This person says, "I think she could have gotten away with it if she used clip-ins instead of a wig." Well, yeah, I was just confused. Well, the part that threw me off about the commercial was when she tried to mess up her wig and make it look disheveled. That's the part that threw me off because I'm like, okay, Olandria, anybody who wears lace fronts knows that if your wig looks like that, then you've been scammed. So it's like, that that's not even how your wig actually looked. You had to purposely screw it up in order for it to look that bad. But let me try to keep up with these comments. JT Hellstrom says, "It seems they can't get a date anywhere." I haven't seen you in a long time, JT. Let me see. This person says, Honeydew Drop says, "Haven't seen it." Yeah, it's just a random commercial. JT says, "The unit." Yeah, she would have been better off calling it a unit. Like, stop saying, "Oh, this is a hair emergency." But no, it's like, why didn't she want to show off her 4C hair or her type 4 hair? Because I actually went back and looked at some of her old TikToks. She has some videos where she shows her short, natural hair. She tends to wear it in a silk press, and she does tend to dye it blonde as well. So isn't that interesting? The same thing that they talked shit about the exoticals for doing, dyeing your hair blonde, wearing lace fronts, hiding your naps. The same thing that they try to shame exoticals for doing is the same thing that they are now sweeping under the rug when Olandria is doing it. Isn't that interesting? Do you see the double standard? Biggie Shorty says, right. Many times they have a lot of unambiguous people around, so they self depreciate to fit in. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Mary Posa says, "It's a shame because she is actually cute, but she drinks and smokes weed in her videos. Can't take her serious." Des says, "Yes, I live in Miami. As a darker skinned girl, if you live your life in fight or flight, of course you're going to be fearing colorists." Yeah, I've noticed that one of the biggest fears in the unambiguous community is the fear of isms. And it's like, okay, first of all, you don't really know who's colorist, texturist, or featurist until you come across them. So if I'm just living my life scared that everybody's going to be like racist or anti-black against me, like that's not a good way to live life. That's not good for my nervous system. GT says deprecate. Oh, I think I misread what they were saying. Das says, oh wait, I read this comment already. But be sure that you join the Patreon if you're not a member of it already. That is where you will get all of the tea. That's where all of the creepyoticals, that's where we talk the most shit, actually. And one of the girls in the Discord, she was talking about how her experience is that when she's in the grocery store, she said she feels like a lot of unambiguous girls kind of follow her in the grocery store. Has that ever happened to you? Because that actually has happened to me before, but it's not always like a stalker thing. Sometimes it's like they're staring at you so they can compare themselves to you. Have you ever had that happen where somebody purposely tries to look across the room and then they're really just trying to glance at you, or it's like they purposely change their walking path so they can walk past you because they want to get a better look at you because they want to compare themselves to you. That's what it is. A lot of times people are obsessed with comparing themselves to you. That's why they're staring at you. Or have you ever had an instance where like you're just minding your business, then you look over and some woman was staring at you, then she tries to like avert her eyes and look away, but she was like legitimately staring at you? This person says, when you think about it, the attachment to fake hair is just weird. They spend so much money on fake hair instead of investing on hair growth products that can help them, but they prefer fake hair. Yeah, I found that interesting because in the case of Olandria, she could have definitely used her platform as a way to promote the unambiguous black 4C phenotype. Like that could have been a great opportunity, not just to build more of a brand deal with Amika, because Amika has an entire hair care line. She could have done a whole like brand deal where she does several different commercials. So not just for the detangling thing, but for a bunch of other stuff. But instead of promoting 4C hair, she said, oh, 4C hair, get somebody else to do it. I'm wearing type 3. I'm wearing type 2. I'm wearing that Indian shit. I'm trying to look like a Blindian on this hair commercial. Gigi Vivi says, I've been mean mugged a lot by older black unambiguous women in the store. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I noticed usually if I have a problem, it does tend to be a Gen X woman. I feel like part of it is because pick me culture. I think the whole black male centeredness and pick me culture was very strong in Generation X. Sorry, I was trying to mute it because it was like getting loud. But Amethyst Court says EU. Ever since watching your videos, I went down to being 100 pounds from 160 to 170. I'm so happy. Congratulations. Stay pretty, ladies. Congratulations on your weight loss. I was just at the gym before this. I was talking about how I was trying out a different gym outfit today. I'm wearing a bodysuit. I don't know how you guys wear bodysuits. This shit is so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm constantly pulling down the shorts, and I feel like the shorts look so awkward on this bodysuit. Maybe it's just made for a different body type. I don't know. But I just feel like I need to go back to my typical gym outfit of like a crop top and some leggings or like the bra with the matching leggings. That's my favorite. Um, this girl says, I am not black, but that's true. My friend is light skinned with green eyes, and she gets a lot of black women staring at her to compare themselves to her, or they try to make her feel ugly. Yeah, and I've noticed that, like, whenever someone else is obsessed with how you look, or whenever someone is obsessed with like your dating life or something like that, generally speaking, that means that you meet their beauty standard. Because I've noticed another talking point where a lot of women will be like, well, if I looked like you, well, if I had hair like yours, I would wear it out. If I had hair like yours, I would just wear it natural all the time. Well, if I had a face like yours, I would never wear makeup. It's like they're kind of living vicariously through you in their mind. It's almost like you're this Barbie doll and they won't admit it, but that's literally what it is. But I'm just going to keep waiting for other people to come in. By the way, do you guys like when I do live streams? I'm going to try to stream as much as I can, just so I can kind of like stay active on here and keep like connecting with you guys and everything. Des says, I noticed older black women in public are obsessed with staring at and talking to me. I have a baby face with keen features and long hair. They always ask about my hair care and makeup routine. Yes, why do people always ask about our hair care and makeup routines? Why are they obsessed with our hair care and makeup? Shouldn't you be obsessed with someone who actually shares your phenotype? I've always wondered about that. I'm like, that's so interesting because in the beauty community on YouTube, you'll see that a lot of exoticals are dominating the quote unquote black beauty sector. They're dominating the black makeup sector. They're dominating the quote unquote black hair care sector. And you've got Olandria putting detangling spray on her unit as if a unit that expensive needs detangling spray. If you're wearing a human hair wig and you still need to purchase a $30 detangling spray, you're wearing a synthetic wig. That's not a human hair wig. But I'm going to keep waiting for you guys to come in. I am sitting here drinking my coffee, by the way. I know I should not be drinking coffee at this time, but I felt like drinking coffee because that was the only thing that would motivate me to go to the gym. I was not supposed to go to the gym. I was actually not even supposed to be home right now, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going out. So I'm sitting here with my little latte and it's in my little Stanley cup. Well, it's not a Stanley cup. I have like a hot version of the Stanley cup. So you can put like hot drinks in here. So my latte is like coffee and then it's got toffee in here, caramel. It's got like some white syrup, which is kind of like cream. It's very unhealthy, okay? It's very unhealthy. I shouldn't be having it right after a workout, but I don't care because this is my motivation. Divine Goddess says people of all races like to do double takes when I'm out in public. It could be because I'm a ginger exotical. Yeah, I think that when you're a stunning beauty, that's literally the definition of being stunning. People are stunned when they see you. So they stop and they pause. Or, if you have stunning hair, they're going to stop and pause and stare at your hair. If you have stunning makeup, they're going to study your makeup or they're going to randomly demand that you become their makeup artist or makeup guru. And also, has anyone else noticed the whole trend of wearing high yellow concealers? The high yellow, that's not highlighting shit. If you have a deep ebony chocolate skin tone, putting a beige concealer, you're not highlighting shit. It literally just looks like you associate that actual color with being pretty. And so it's like you just want that color on your face. And it's like, okay, if you think beige is pretty, that's fine. Just admit that you think beige skin tones are pretty then. I don't have a problem with beauty enhancements as long as you admit that the exoticals are a part of your beauty standard. Where I have a problem is when people say things like, "Oh, where she's mediocre," or "They're all average," or "They're not even pretty, they're ugly, they're basic." Oh, well, they only attract dusties. Well, they're just going to become baby mamas. They're destined to become baby mamas. They're going to go down the baby mama pipeline. But then you're trying to look like us, quote unquote, baby mamas. You're trying to wear a 30-inch bust down like this, quote unquote, baby mama exotical that you're making fun of. And also, a lot of the women who talk shit about baby mamas came from baby mamas themselves. So let's clock that tea. How you like them apples? Chelsea says that commercial was dumb. And the fact that people tried to relate it to influencers who promote mascara on false eyelashes or other races of women with their hair extensions, they need to relax. Yeah, my thing is just keep the same energy with everyone, okay? So I see people talking shit about exoticals wearing wigs and weaves, and they'll be like, oh, well, you're trying to pass that off as your real hair. Okay, so keep the same energy with Olandria then. Olanix says, yes, stream more often. Okay. Class assignment 3643 says, yes, we love the live streams. I love you guys as like troll names. By the way, this did start off as a troll channel. I am still a troll channel and will forever be a troll channel. This girl says, or they tell you to straighten your hair. Yes. Why is it always somebody who doesn't have my hair texture? Doesn't have my hair length, doesn't even have my edges. She doesn't have my edges, but she's trying to tell me how to do my shit. Like, ma'am, are you a hair guru? Are you a fucking hair influencer? Are you a hairstylist? Because last time I checked, black beauty salons are notorious for damaging people's hair. Half of you guys have missing edges right now because of your local African braiding shop. And by the way, I recently found out too that apparently braids and locks can actually damage your hair as well and pull it out. Like the faux locks and all that. Apparently, even that is not healthy if you have 4C hair. And by the way, I want to talk about how I see a lot more exoticals rocking their 4C hair versus unambiguous women. Has anyone else noticed that? Why is it that the majority of women I see with long, healthy type 4 hair are exoticals? Why is it that I see biracial women rocking their type 4 hair more than I see unambiguous women rocking their type 4? Why is it that when exoticals take off their wigs and weaves, they tend to have hair? They have hair or they have edges, or they're not ashamed to switch back and forth between their natural hair and the weaves. Has anyone else noticed that? And I think part of that is because a lot of exoticals, we just have less trauma with our blackness in general. And I think another part of that could be coming from generations of pretty privileged women, or maybe you come from generations of women who are good at doing their hair. Like in my family, we have all different, like my cousins and everything, we have all different hair types. There's everywhere from type 3 to 4C. Like they have all different hair textures, but every girl in my family, I can't think of not one girl in my extended family whose hair was constantly short and broken off, even if she had 4C hair. Everybody in my family, their hair is long. And I think part of that came from the women in my family just having pretty privilege and kind of passing down those skills to their daughters and stuff. So when all of us were growing up, like when we were teenagers and stuff, everybody's hair was long. Nobody's hair just stayed at neck length for 20 years. It's like, ma'am, your hair has been at neck length since 2005. And then you want to try to tell other women how to do their hair. All that shit talking about other people's hair. And you're over here hiding under braids, hiding under a lace front, hiding under locks. Tosh MUA says, it's true. I work in the beauty industry. Women of all ethnicities ask for my help with hair, but when I tell them with my natural, but when I help them with my natural hair out, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Wow. The hypocrisy is real. GGVV says, yes, I've been told I should straighten my hair too. Have you ever noticed that even when it comes to the natural hair community, a lot of them are growing out their hair so they can silk press it? That's literally the entire purpose. And I've seen some of them say that on their videos. They'll be like, oh, I want to grow my hair long and then I want to silk press it. And then whenever they do their length checks, of course, the length check videos are like a flexing video, basically. The longer it is, the more you flex. But the length check videos are usually women who have silk pressed their hair. And that is their standard for, long hair. And it's like, well, if your hair is 4C and your hair naturally doesn't sit down, it doesn't grow downwards, it wants to grow upwards, why would I do a silk press as my length check? Especially if 4C is prone to breakage if you keep straightening it. Why would I do that? Why can't I just grow it out like in a bigger and bigger afro? Why can't the afro be the standard of like my length checks? Why does it have to be, oh, it's got to be silky and pressed? It's got to be not just pressed, but silk pressed, not blown out with a blow dryer. Oh, hell no. Fuck that shit. It can't have any puff in it at all. That's unacceptable. It has to be silky. And by the way, let's talk about this obsession with silky hair textures because I've said this 1,000 times and I stand 10 toes down on this talking point. Texturism and featureism are bigger than colorism. I said what I said. And the reason I say that is because nobody checks featureist and texturist. In fact, I see a lot of unambiguous women using featureism and texturism against light-skinned black women who have broader features or 4C hair. They will literally use dark-skinned women who benefit from featureism as a flex on a light-skinned woman with like broad features and kinky hair, for example. So that's why I say the featureism and texturism is even bigger because I have met more unambiguous black women that want to change their hair. There are more black women wearing wigs and lace fronts versus bleaching themselves to become light skinned, if that makes sense. Well, I mean, I also could be wrong though. I really don't know. Because now, ever since I talked to the bleacher girl, this was about a year ago, she was talking about how a lot of people in the dark skin community, they might bleach themselves, but they're not bleaching to become light skinned. They're just bleaching so that they're not as dark skinned. So, for example, going from like an ebony skin tone, going from like a jet black skin tone to like a milk chocolate. This girl says, hey EU, IDK what this is about, but I have a romantic, angelic beauty, and women say they want to be my friend and act like they like me, but never want to hang out. Is it because I'm pretty, smart, and in shape? Yeah, they want to study you. That's a monitoring spirit. She wants to usurp your beauty. That's like a destiny swapping type of woman. It always starts off as admiration. Oh, you're so pretty. Oh, I love how you dress. And in reality, she just wants to monitor you. She wants to find out your secrets. She wants to figure out what it is about you that makes you shine so that she can usurp that for herself. Because if they want to be my friend and then they don't want to hang out, okay, then you're not my friend. How are you my friend if you never want to be around me? So, yeah, that's more of like a monitoring spirit type of thing. And that is very common for us. That's very common if you're pretty privileged, you're an exotical. People are trying to figure out what it's like. It's really more so, it's almost like you're getting the celebrity treatment. They don't necessarily want to be your friend because that requires too much emotional labor, but they want to observe you. It's almost like they want to get a behind the scenes look at what it's like to be you. They're trying to figure out where your confidence comes from. They want to figure out where your self esteem comes from. And also, that's why I talk in the Patreon a lot about how there are certain parts of my life that I don't tell people. Um, that's part of why I move in silence. And that's also why I say that you also have the right to gatekeep your beauty as well. If you want to gatekeep that, you can. If you want to gatekeep your weight loss process, you can. Because women like this, they say you're their friend and then they never hang out with you. Well, they're gatekeeping friendship from you. So it's like, okay, you're gatekeeping friendship from me, but I can't gatekeep anything from you? Hell no. Why play fair in an unfair world? This girl says, what are your thoughts on tattoo freckles for exoticals? Also, love this channel so much. Tattoo freckles, kind of like tattoo eyeliner, I'm assuming, or like tattoo lipstick. I don't really have a problem with it or an opinion on that. I think generally speaking, women are going to do whatever they feel gives them the most pretty privilege. They're going to do whatever they feel enhances their beauty. So this channel, I'm pro natural beauty and I'm also pro beauty enhancement. So I don't really care what you choose for the beauty enhancement to be. JT Hellstrom says the competition is completely one-sided. Their self-hatred is the main factor for driving Their self-hatred is the main factor driving their need to compete. Yeah, it's like, why are we in this one-sided competition for a white man? When have I ever come on this channel and said, oh my God, I love white men. Oh, I love non-black men. Oh my God, I love old men that look like Santa Claus. When have I ever said that? So the fact that women are shouting from the abyss about their white husbands, their ugly ass non-black husbands, shouting from the abyss, and they're like, oh, light-skinned women are so jealous of me. Oh yeah, all these mixed women are so jealous because I'm being loved well. And it's like, why would I be jealous of you being loved well? I have plenty of love in my life. We get love in society. What are you talking about? We get love in society. We get love in the media. You can get love from your family members, from your friends. So the fact that there's like a competition over who receives the most love is crazy to me. But hold on, I'm going to take a sip of my little latte. GGVV says, that bright concealer looks ridiculous. Yeah, it just looks like a ghost. People are over here talking about exoticals like, oh, your skin tone looks gray. Ma'am, your skin tone looks gray. What are you talking about? You're saying exotical skin tones look gray. And it's like, well, you must like the gray look then because you're putting this gray, ashy ass concealer under your eyes. That's not highlighting anything. And also, if you're going to do the bright concealer, just make sure it matches the undertones of your skin, for God's sakes. But I have noticed in the makeup world, they tell dark skinned women to wear blush and lipstick that is the opposite undertone of their skin. I don't know why they say that. I saw that on like an article. They were telling dark skinned women, like with cool undertones, they're like, oh, wear a warm tone blush. It's like, why would they wear the opposite tone blush or an opposite tone lipstick? And now they're doing opposite tone concealers. But okay, whatever gives you the pretty privilege. I've never heard anybody say, oh, I really want a girl with a jet black skin tone with some white ass under eyes. I've never heard anybody say that, but okay, to each his own. Crystal Morgan says, I have people years my junior competing with me at the same time. Kids always staring at me, which I find cute. Yes, not enough people talk about this. And that's a part of why I made that video about that older exotical. She was like maybe in her 60s or something like that. And literally, a young, unambiguous black woman in her 20s was trying to bully this older woman, which I found very interesting. So, yes, that is definitely a thing. Still being jealous of women who are older. Do you know how many women are still jealous of Sade, the singer? They're still jealous. Sade is like, what, 50s, 60s? Do you know how many women are still jealous of women like Alicia Keys, women like Beyonce? These women are not in their 20s. So, yeah, that is definitely a thing. And I think that a lot of women who try to age shame exoticals, I notice they do tend to be unambiguous women where they don't have a lot of privileges stacked in their favor. So they don't really know what it's like to be older and still pretty privileged. Because think about it, how many older, unambiguous black women over the age of 50 do you see making beauty content, or even in Hollywood? I can use Hollywood as an example. I can use being an influencer as an example. I could use being an actress as an example. How many unambiguous women with their 4C hair, natural, broad features, no nose jobs or anything? So if you're going to use an actress as an example, use an actress that doesn't have any work done. How many women like that do you really see still being a representation or a beauty standard in their 50s and 60s? I don't really see any, but I do see exoticals like Sade, for example, or like Vanessa Williams and women like that. I do see them still being praised. I don't know if like Vanessa Williams has had work done. I know Sade hasn't. I don't think she has. But yeah, so I think that aging, it doesn't seem to really be as much of an insecurity in the exotical space. I've just never heard any exoticals talk about, oh my God, I'm going to look so bad, or I'm going to be so ugly when I get older. I'm so scared of aging. But you know who I have seen hiding their age all the time? It's unambiguous women, especially the ones who are supposed to be a level up channel. It's like, okay, you're supposed to be a level up channel for unambiguous women. Then you should be proud of like your age and, looking good at 50 or whatever age you are. You shouldn't have any shame telling your age. So part of how you can tell if women are insecure about their own age is if they hide their age, number one. And then it's if they have like a fear of aging or they make fun of other women for being older. But then they'll be in the abyss competing with those women. Amethyst says, I literally saw a dark skinned black woman use a white concealer. Like, huh? Even under her super bright lights, it still looked weird. Yeah, I agree. It looks very extreme. It definitely gives clown. It really does look clown. You know how some people say that certain makeup looks like a clown or a drag queen or looks masculine or whatever? That's what it is. Wearing two-toned, non-matching makeup, that does look clownish and it does look costumey. It looks forced. Des says, I feel like despite her features, banging body, personality, style, model features, I feel Olandria thinks she is not allowed to have all three black features at once. That's exactly what it is. A wig is easier than a rhinoplasty. That's exactly what it is. I hope you have a channel, Des. That's a really good comment. That's true. I told you, in the unambiguous black female community, they hate to see shrunken 4C hair, broad features, and dark skin. You can't have all three of those at the same time and still be considered beautiful. If Olandria had a TWA, a teeny weeny afro, if she were to take off that lace front during that commercial, if she would have had a TWA and was spraying her hair, people would not have received it the same way. They would not view her the same way. So yes, I totally agree. They don't think it's pretty when you have all three of those features at the same time. That's what makes you unambiguous. Having the shrunken 4C hair naturally, having the broad features, so wide nose, big lips, wide jawline, and then having a dark skin tone. Wide Eye Diva says, I'm Haitian American. And I'm sorry, but that ad was beyond dumb. Yeah, I was actually surprised. Class assignment 3643 says they want us to get heat damage, lol, not falling for the trick. Yeah. Grace Life Exotical says LMAO, not the missing edges. Chelsea 6779 says that under eye concealer looks trash. It reminds me of when people use too much blush. Right. It's kind of like blush blindness, there's concealer blindness, and then there's wig blindness. Crystal says, anyone do digital perms? What is that? What is digital perms? Rain Kiki says, I think what's really sad about unambiguous women's obsession with wigs is the exploitation and abuse of Asian women from it. It's a terrible industry. Then you want to turn around and marry an Asian man and create Blasian babies. Obsessed with K-pop men, thirsting over Asian men on TikTok. Let's not act like we don't see that, because I see that all the time. I notice they try to sweep that under the rug. And then they'll even brag and be like, excuse me, I don't date white men either, Exoticals United. I date Hispanic men. I date Indian men. The world isn't black and white, Exoticals United. And it's like, okay, you guys are obsessed with anyone lighter and brighter and whiter. Grace Life Exotical says, they have traumatized me for being different than that. Yeah, I've noticed that, like, if you don't fit the black stereotypes, then you're acting white, or they're going to make fun of you, even with singing. We saw that in the music industry with women who sing with a different vocal, like, technique. They will make fun of those women, kind of like SZA. SZA doesn't have that black auntie voice when she's singing. You know, they make fun of women that don't meet black stereotypes and they dismiss their talent. By the way, one of the Creepyoticals emailed me and was talking about how black women's talent, if you're an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman, your talent is not as celebrated as like a black man. So notice how they're obsessed with mixed men or black men who can sing, for example, Chris Brown, but then they ignore people like Jennifer Hudson, for example. Jennifer Hudson was like a really good singer, but they ignored her. They ignored Brandy. Brandy's career has been struggling for the past 15 years. She has to do a whole new tour again. They could have kept Brandy at the top of the chart. Brandy could have been like how Beyonce was, but she was never going to, because they'd rather support somebody lighter as opposed to someone darker and somebody who looks more black. And by the way, the thing about Brandy, now that I think of it, Brandy is always in braids as well, or like lace fronts and stuff. A lot of the unambiguous R&B singers, Coco Jones, Money Long, a lot of those women, they never wear the teeny weeny afros either. The short 4C hair. Name one music icon, name one current music icon who is celebrated as a beauty standard, who has a shrunken 4C afro. It's always Mia says, hair is 90% genetic, though. I just want to remind anyone. I just want to remind everyone. Yes, we know that hair is genetic. This channel supports multiracial women. So we talk about genetics a lot on here. I'm not sure if you're new to this channel or not. JT Hellstrom says, I don't have a single woman in my family that ever wore a wig or fake hair of any kind. And that's the thing, too. Like when I was a kid, the little braids, you know, those weave braids or like the curly weaves and stuff, you know, the little fake ponytails that all the black girls were wearing when we were little kids, like in the 90s. I couldn't wear that. Yeah, right. You really think that my dad would go to a beauty supply and purchase a false ponytail for his 5-year-old? Oh, and by the way, I just saw a video today. They are now putting wigs on 6-month-old babies. So not like 1 and 2 years old, not 3 years old. No, now it's 6 months old. Literally, they have lace front units. I saw somebody glue a wig onto a baby's head, but they didn't put the glue on the entire head of the baby. They just put the glue in the middle of the baby's head. And then they just put the hair piece like at the crown of the baby's head. That's how they're doing it now. So we have babies wearing lace fronts now. Grace Life Exotical says, can we talk about how they always want to cut our hair, claiming split ends? I've been trimming my own hair just to let them know they can't come near me with scissors. Yeah, it's because they stereotype our hair as growing back faster. That's another thing too. Like, have you ever had someone ask you if you're mixed because of how fast your hair grows? Have you ever had somebody do that? Because that's happened to me. That used to happen to me when I was a teenager. Like, I remember one time I went to church, and me and this one girl who was unambiguous, we would always straighten our hair with flat irons before church. So this was like on a Wednesday night. And I remember she came one Wednesday and then she didn't come back for about 4 weeks. And then, we were straightening our hair and my hair got longer in the 4 weeks. And she was like, "Oh, your hair is longer already." And she was like, "Wait, you're mixed, right?" And I thought that was interesting that she randomly brought that up because of my hair growing, as if you can't grow hair and just be black. Infamous GSG says, "My thing is, why don't black men have these same problems? I see them with afros, locks, low cuts, braids, all day, every day. Shouldn't the texturism be neutral both ways?" Yeah, and I've noticed that. So I do think it is possible to be texturous against a man. I just feel like with men, beauty standards or like being a pretty boy or whatever is just not as celebrated in our society as it is with women. It's Always Mia says black men have a very positive relationship with their hair. They will think you are mentally insane if you even suggest hair relaxers. Grace Life Exotical says they treat our hair so badly. Caroline's All V says toning is what they call it. And monitoring is why I stay solo. Yeah, I see why a lot of exoticals don't hang out with a lot of women because you don't want to have a bunch of monitoring spirits in your presence. JT Hellstrom says these women wear wigs and lace fronts for so long, they come to believe the hair actually grows from their scalps. Yeah, what was annoying about that commercial is like Olandrias, she's like, "Oh, my hair, my hair, my hair." It's like, Olandria, your audience is black. They know that that's not your hair, so I don't know what the point of that was. Grace Life Exotical says, "We are a warm place to exist here in this space." I am so glad that we have the exotical space. I just want to say I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, I have learned so much as a content creator, and I've learned so much about myself. And this space has also been very healing for me, too. So I'm learning right alongside you guys. And yeah, I'm excited that we have the Pretty Girl Club. Hits You Gay Atirosho. Okay, I just butchered that name. This person says dark skinned black women with bright pink cheeks is so uncanny. Literally the worst makeup trend. JT Hellstrom says, Exoticals United, did I ever tell you that you're one of the funniest women I've ever met? Thanks. This girl says Jackie Ina. She's talking about makeup icons in the unambiguous community. So my talking point still stands, though. Be fashionista. One token dark-skinned black woman who wears wigs majority of the time and blonde color in her hair majority of the time, and also married hypogamously, and also blocks her own subscribers, Jackie Ina. She is not a representation. She's not dominating the entire beauty industry. There are more MLS women who are makeup content creators than just Jackie Ina. That's why she was the only person that you could name. Moonstone says she is in her 60s. Sade is 66. Yeah, exactly. And Sade is still a beauty standard. I love Sade. Close UZ1 says being light skinned or brown around Jamaican females growing up, 90s and 2000s, was crazy. If you also have survived them, well done. Yeah, I've seen the documentaries about like the obsession with skin tone in the Caribbean. I've seen that. I've seen the documentaries about the bleaching. You know the pictures of the bleachers where it's like they have these big whelps and wheals on their skin from like burning their skin. A lot of those pictures are taken in places in the Caribbean. This person says, I get so much micro validation when I am at my college and heads turn. Also, YT people give me compliments. Exotical tax. That's right, get your exotical tax. College is a really great place to experiment with your beauty. I love college culture. You guys know I'm a nerd. But yeah, I love like college culture. I will always be pro college. And I am still pro HBCU, by the way. I'm still pro HBCU because I'm an exotical. We're exoticals. So at HBCUs, we have a pedestal still. And I can tell you that from experience. So, yes, we experience jealousy and viciousness. I've told you guys the stories on this channel, but I never told you my positive stories from college because, you guys like to you guys like to be messy, and that's okay. You guys are a reflection of me because I'm I'm kind of messy sometimes too. But yeah, I love college. If you are an exotical in college or if you just got out of high school, I really hope that you educate yourself somehow. It doesn't have to be university, but hopefully you can go to like a community college. Hopefully you can learn a trade of some sort or, just get some skills. So yeah, congrats to this pretty girl who's in college. This person says colorism in the Caribbean and African seems to be so prevalent. The thirst for light skin is so obsessive. Yes, I agree. This person says they try to do this to Maya. Oh, like talk shit. And Maya still looks good too for her age. There are a lot of women who look good for their age. Maya, Drea looks good. I don't know. I can't think of anyone else, but there are a lot. Caroline says, as a former Caribbean woman, don't get me started on how bad the bleaching is. A former Caribbean. That's a first. You're a former Caribbean? What does that mean? You're like, I'm done with the Caribbean. B Fashionista '09 says, Oh, I saw that. Northwest asked Nick on FaceTime if he's still with Olandria. I just about died. Yeah, that was hilarious. She was like, did you break up with Olandria? He's like, no. But he still didn't say, we're still together. Because him saying no, that could mean that she broke up with him finally after disrespecting her so many times. Because remember, Nick, he said the N word on TikTok. He's BFFs with Huda, who everybody says is racist. Okay, so your boyfriend is BFFs with racists. He said the N word on He said the N word on TikTok. He allowed Sierra, his ex, to go to the party with him and Olandria. He didn't kick her out of the party. Imagine your boyfriend welcoming his ex-girlfriend who he fucked on national TV. Remember, he fucked Sierra on national TV. Imagine your boyfriend partying it up with a woman that he just fucked on national TV. And then he allows Sierra to post a story where she says, don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me, with Nick in the background. And Nick didn't check that shit. Do you know how disrespectful that is? I mean, I'm surprised Olandria tolerated that, but then again, she tolerates a lot. I mean, she tolerated the bullshit from Taylor, and I'm not surprised that she tolerated it from Nick. And then Nick was pictured with a non-black bottle girl or, I don't know, potential ex worker. People are saying, like, oh, she just worked at the club. And then they were trying to make excuses. They were like, oh, well, going to the strip club, that's not cheating. The bar is in hell. So because he's white, he can hang out with his ex, he can say the N-word, and he can go to strip clubs and it's not cheating. Do you see the double standard? JT Hellstrom says, I have seen a few black women using white concealer lately. I clowned Love Jones about it in her comment section and she was triggered AF. So I don't know who that is, but yeah, I've seen a lot of the crazy concealers. One West Princess says, OMG, I'm late. Hey, EU. Hey, we are having a Creepyoticals gossip stream. We're just talking about all the tea that's been spilled in the Discord. A lot of you guys have been emailing me, and I can't always keep up with like creating edited videos. So every once in a while, I'm going to come on here and stream, and I'm going to try to talk about as many subjects as I can. By the way, speaking of colleges, one of the exoticals commented recently, and she said that the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority is now looking more and more unambiguous and it's becoming more ratchet. And several of you guys have mentioned how they're trying to prove that they're not colorist, texturist, and featurist because we know that the AKAs, they used to promote exoticals. Even when I was in college, they tried to recruit me to be on there. So I'm not surprised by that. Chelsea says, even though she is not known for being a beauty standard, I loved Viola Davis. She always tries to be classy and beautiful in her own way. Yeah, I like Viola Davis. I wish that during her interviews that Viola Davis wouldn't talk about how people perceive her as ugly. Because that's the one interview that stands out. That really turns me off to somebody. Like that's part of why I don't really like Kelly Rowland too, because Kelly Rowland and Viola Davis, both of those women had the opportunity to use their platform to promote their phenotype. But then instead of promoting it during their interviews, they'll be talking about how people don't like them and people view them as ugly. And it's like, this is not a time to announce that you are ugly. But yeah, I do think Viola Davis is a good actress and everything. Class assignment says the blush and concealer blindness is because they don't want to see the reality. I detest this trend. It doesn't work often. And I think part of it too is wanting to measure up. Because have you ever noticed that they shame exoticals for wearing makeup? But then if you look at them, they wear way more makeup. Like I've been accused of wearing makeup. When I was a teenager, I remember this one little gay black guy. He was an unambiguous boy. He would accuse me of wearing makeup. I was only wearing lip gloss. Meanwhile, he would wear hella makeup. Grace says she literally only wears wigs, but always says how natural she is. Yeah, I don't consider her to be natural at all, actually. West Princess says they love unambiguous black women so much, but rushing to erase themselves with other races of men. Exactly. If you love the phenotype of unambiguous black women, why would you not want to create daughters that have your gorgeous, lovely phenotype? Hold on, I'm about to take a sip of my latte. This guy says Northwest should be able to recognize a PR stunt. Her mom and aunties are the queens of lies and fake relationships. Oh, yeah. And then did you see Nick on the Kim Kardashian thing? Why is Nick hanging out with Kim Kardashian alone and taking pictures with him with no shirt on and Kim K? Like, why? I feel like that's weird. And I feel like him and her, they're not doing nearly as much public appearances and working together. They're not working together nearly as much. Also, I think Nick is petty and immature because why is it that right after Olandria was spotted with that non-black guy for the Alexander Wang thing, right after Olandria was pictured with him, then a week later Nick comes out and he's in a picture with another woman. So do you see how that it's giving petty, it's giving dusty, it's giving tit for tat. Wodab says, like I said earlier, I be rocking the F out of my Florida Evans. Afro. JT Hellstrom says many black women want to compete with black men. Why? Is it because they can't compete with other races of women? That's actually a good point. Wanting to compete with your male counterparts, wanting to compete, wanting to prove to black men that you're desirable by other groups of men. It's like a revenge, kind of like how the black male incels will do that with women. It's black female, like femme cells, doing that with the men. Oh, well, just be colorist back. I actually saw a creator a long time ago. She was an unambiguous divester, and she talked about how her dating strategy against colorist black men was to just be colorist back to them. So they're trying to solve colorism with more colorism. Oh, well, black men are colorist against me, so I'm just going to be colorist against them. So I'm going to flaunt that I date biracial men. I'm going to go on the internet and lie, blunt girly, and say that I date or I'm married to a biracial billionaire. I'm going to go on the internet and brag about dating a white man and a Hispanic man, Chrissy. Class assignment says, well, you made a great point. Riri has worn her hair short, relaxed, natural curls, wigs, extensions, braids. She may be the only one who does both. Yeah, I've noticed exoticals, we tend to just wear whatever. Like in terms of hairstyles, I have seen way more exoticals come in and out of wigs or in and out of relaxers or in and out of afros and stuff versus unambiguous women. With unambiguous women, it's weave, wig, lace front, braids, locks, lace front, no edges, alopecia, bald headed. Shay Charday. Oh my God, I saw your video. I saw your video reporting on the exotical space. That was hilarious. The Keisha Cold War. That was a funny title. Summer says, I'm not going to lie, this Olandria hate, especially with the thumbnail, is giving weirdo behavior. Summer RX, Summer XR67. If you feel like us exoticals are weirdos, why are you in our space? We're not begging you to be here. I'm not begging you to subscribe to me. There are tens of thousands of women that love the exotical space. So do you guys see what I mean about bad social climbing tactics? Oh, well, this is an Olandria hate train, which is actually not. If you watch my content, you actually know that on the beginning of Love Island, I actually didn't have a problem with Olandria. My problem with Olandria came once she became a sidekick to Shelley. That's when I noticed Olandria started having problems because when she became a sidekick to Shelley, and then when she started acting like a pick me for Taylor after Taylor was not even attracted to her, he was literally giving her breadcrumbs and then she settled for the breadcrumbs. That is where my issue started. So, but do you guys see the bad social climbing tactic here, though, from this person? Why are you following channels or jumping into spaces where you don't feel welcome? If you don't feel welcome here, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Summer X67. D says, I've been listening for a year. Yay! Pretty Girl Club. Amethyst Court says, these generational curses, man, shaking my head. Shay Charday says, I thought that ad was so cringe. Literally dropping this video soon. And Olandria has shown her natural hair. Well, it looked like her natural hair on her TikTok before. So it's like, okay, why can't you show it again? And I will say, though, her natural hair did look the same length in both pics. So it's like, okay, if you went from damaged blonde afro to then a short silk press, and then maybe it's been years and your hair is still neck length, I can see why you wouldn't want to show your hair because it's like maybe there's no growth there, or that whole complex that a lot of black women have with lack of hair growth. I feel like that's another trauma that a lot of black women don't talk about. It's not just texturism. I feel like a lot of women have short hair trauma. I'm kind of making up phrases as I go. Lack of hair length trauma, the trauma of never having long hair. Their hair has never been swinging down their back. So it's almost like they missed out on a part of their girlhood. They missed out on a part of their femininity. It's kind of like an unhealed wound. And I think that for some women, the wigs and stuff, it's not just about the texture, it's also about the length. They don't have that length that they always want. And then they call it hang time. First of all, hang time, your hair only hangs down when it's type 3. So why are you even making that a standard for hair? Why are you calling it hang time? Why aren't you calling it like afro time or like, my hair looks bigger and it has more volume? And why aren't you celebrating that? Even the hair length check t-shirts where it's like checking the length of your hair, well, that's kind of like a form of texturism, right? Because why is it that you're measuring your hair based on how far down your back it goes? So that's another thing that's kind of giving type 3 girls more of a pedestal. That's giving my hair type more of a pedestal as opposed to type 4. So I think that's another trauma as well. And I do think that could be a part of Olandria's problem. Maybe her hair, she could have short hair underneath, or she could have, neck length, or, nothing impressive. For some women, they don't show their natural hair because they've neglected it. And they don't want that to be exposed. They don't want it to be exposed that they neglected their hair. They don't want it to be exposed that their hair is dry as fuck under their wigs. Because wigs and quote unquote protective styles, I feel like it can be good for length retention. It can be good for length retention, but it's not always good for moisture retention. And for a lot of women who have type 4 hair already, if your hair is already 4C or whatever, and then it's already prone to dryness, or in the case of Olandria, when she did show her natural hair, we know that she had colored it before. So, putting super light blonde, trying to dye your 4C hair a 613 blonde color, which is what it looked like in Olandria's picture, that can cause a lot of damage. So hiding your hair under wigs, I feel like part of it is also from women having a lack of hair length as well. And they just don't want to be exposed for having the same neck length hair since 2005. Moonstone says, well, in my case, it might be true. Asian hair grows the fastest and the slowest is African. Okay, so do you guys feel like African hair grows slowest, or and when you guys say African hair, what texture are you talking about? Because apparently the 4C standard that I was using on this channel, now they're talking about African American 4C versus like African 4C, like Nigerian 4C. They're trying to say that like the real 4C hair looks like peppercorn, so kind of like BBs. I don't know how else to describe it. Kind of like a Brillo pad or something like that. So what do you guys think of that? GGVV says it's not hating. That's literally her in the ad, though. Shay Charday says black men have beautiful hair and also lashes. Why do men always have the best lashes, by the way? That's another thing. Shay Charday says, my brother in law has locks down his back and he has 4C hair. And I think a lot of the breakage issues that women are experiencing with 4C, it comes from over manipulation. That's my theory on it. I can't prove that, but that's what I think. Just because, and I'm saying that because in my family, my cousins and stuff that have 4C hair, their hair is always long and it's always growing. But a part of why it's always growing is because growing up, our family they never did much to the 4C. They treated 4C hair just like how they treated 3C or type 2 or whatever. They just put it in two pigtails or whatever, put it in some braids, and then that was it. And they kind of left it alone. So I think a lot of the breakage is probably from like over manipulation, trying to slick it down, trying to get it to appear like type 3 hair. This person gave a super chat. I don't know how to click on it though and show it. Hold on. It says the super chat person said, Nick and Olandria are a PR couple as it promotes a false fantasy relationship between white men and black women to a group of the most educated yet stupid black women that believe that white men desire them. They will break up. Thank you, L. Michelle 2005 for the super chat. Oh, is it showing now? Oh, okay, now it's showing. You guys, I'm really bad at streaming, by the way. But yes, I agree. I think that it's definitely a false fantasy. That's why in that interview, Olandria was like, "Oh, I'm saving the world." She said something along the lines of saving the world by being in a relationship, by having a white boyfriend, you're saving the world. First of all, why is it your responsibility as an unambiguous black woman to save the world? Do you know how many people are in this world? So that's crazy, just the amount of like pressure that she puts on herself and the amount of pressure that she puts on her relationships. That actually explains the pick me behavior. Because remember, she was not just a pick me with Nick. I think she's a worse pick me with Nick, but she was a pick me with Taylor as well. She had to wait to get dogged out by Taylor as well. Okay, let me catch up with where I was in the comment section. JT Hellstrom says, I would kindly ask for my wrench back, but I know it is officially a Decentering Men channel now. Yes, so I used to collaborate with male content creators. So for those of you who are new here, yes, there actually used to be an entire MLS community on here. I used to have streams actually with both women and men on my streams. I was actually thinking of releasing those old streams, or maybe I can at least put them on the members page. They're very low quality, but it will kind of give you guys like a clue of where I started. But I stopped collaborating with male content creators because back in the day when I first started, a lot of the male creators, they were either super extreme red pill, almost like misogynist types. There were some men that were trying to pressure me into creating kind of like this MLS love channel. So instead of like a black love, you know how they have kind of these black love channels or like these black relationship channels? Back when I first started, there were MLS creators trying to pressure me into becoming an MLS relationship channel. And I did not want to be a relationship channel. So it used to be very irritating having MLS men come in my comment section all the time, and kind of like arguing with all my talking points or like making live streams about me saying, "Oh, Exoticals United, she doesn't promote MLS marriage enough. She's not promoting biracial men enough. She's not promoting our phenotypes enough as men." So the way that I felt back then was, why is it my responsibility to build the MLS male YouTube community? And also, why is it my responsibility to act like a pimp or like a madam, like turn my channel into some sort of MLS dating app? So that was one of my frustrations when I first started. And yes, I used to have male mods on this channel and everything. But yeah, so the drama a few years ago, it became so bad to the point where I was like, I gotta run all the men off my channel. I gotta get as many of them off of here as I can. And this is all before I knew what decentering men was. When I first came on YouTube, I had never heard of decentering men. I didn't even know that was a thing. Um, but yeah, so I had already wanted to get rid of the men off my channel at the time because I was like, I originally I enjoyed the feminine space. I enjoyed making it a safe space. And I felt like with having a lot of men subscribers, it almost became kind of like a performance in a way. I almost felt like sometimes I was tiptoeing around male content creators. A lot of those creators are gone now, but I have noticed I just got tagged by a guy the other day. His name is Mulatto Vanguard. I remember him from like a few years ago. I remember speaking to him on a stream one time, but I have noticed there are MLS male creators now. So, I guess there are a few of you guys. So, congratulations to you guys and shout out to the MLS men who have still been supporting me. I have noticed some of you guys are still supporting me in my members page and stuff and donating to my Patreon and stuff. So I definitely see you guys and I'm really grateful. But yeah, I can't center the MLS male plight because first of all, I don't have that experience, so I'm not an expert on that. And also, I just feel like relationships becomes the center topic whenever you bring MLS men into the mix. And I'm also just assuming that most of you guys probably don't like my personality, and that's okay. And you guys are probably offended by me decentering men. That's also okay. I totally understand that. And I don't expect MLS men to promote my channel or to promote MLS women. But someone else gave a super chat. L Michelle 2005 says, by the way, my last statement is coming from an FBA woman with common sense. Yeah. So FBA, that's African American, right? Doesn't that mean foundational Black American or something? Let me try to catch up with the comments again. Mary Posa says, that's why I don't post as much now that I'm in college. I look way different than high school because I feel like a lot of people are monitoring me. Never likes my posts or stories, but first to watch. Yeah, that's why I promote like creating different accounts. So, part of why I made this troll channel is because I felt the same thing as well. And I was like, I just want a YouTube channel where I can just be creative. I don't even have to show myself. I can just talk shit and do whatever. So that's why a lot of pretty girls also have a Finsta or they have like private accounts where other people can't join it. So that's always an option too. Or you can also block. Like I've blocked a lot of people from like high school or like my hometown or like anybody that I feel is not really supporting me. If they're just watching and they're never liking or anything, they will eventually get blocked. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to message me after 10 years of not talking to me? Diana Ross 123 says, "Are you into light skinned MLS men? What's your experience with them?" So I don't talk about my dating preferences or like anything positive about men really on my public channel. I talk about that on the members page. So on the highest tier of the members page, I do go more into detail about dating. And then on my Patreon as well, I actually do tell story times and you guys hear all the tea on the Patreon about like dates I go on and stuff. So if you're looking for more kind of like social experiments or MLS dating content, that's always going to be behind the paywall because I don't want this channel to start talking about dating really. Ash says, this channel has been a phenomenal experience for me. Aw, well, thanks for being a part of the Pretty Girl Club. Ethereal Black Top says, same. I never related to the colorism topics, but back in the day, I used to try to be supportive, but it genuinely irritated me how it was always anti MLS women. Yes. Like in my case, a part of why I created this channel, I actually used to be a very big follower of the Black empowerment space. I came from a non-Black background and I purposely, as an adult, I purposely went to an HBCU. I purposely volunteered in the Black community. I have purposely placed myself in Black spaces because that was how much I cared about the Black community. So I was always a supporter. And before I had this channel, I used to like show my face. You know, I had a different Google account. And so I would show myself. And whenever I'd go in the comments section or whenever I'd be on people's members pages and stuff like that, people would actually discount what I had to say and they started calling me names. And one of the dumbest names that they called me was the phrase exotical. I was like, what the fuck is an exotical? That's not even a word. I've heard the term exotic, like that's a word, but exotical, I had never heard that phrase. I was like, that's the dumbest phrase ever. And another thing that had inspired this channel too was it was actually during COVID when Meg the Stallion first came out. And I remember Chrissy specifically talking about how she was not really effing with Meg the Stallion like that because Meg the Stallion was talking about being a red bone and talking about her Creole heritage. And I remember she was talking about how Meg the Stallion was not dark skinned. So she was kind of implying Meg the Stallion is not one of us. And then I also remember this was years ago. I think it was like Eloho or somebody where they made a video called Light Skinned Women Are Not Our Allies. And then there was also that video where they made fun of that light skinned black girl that had the type 4 hair. So those three things were actually three triggers to where I was like, oh shit. I was like, wait a minute. If these women are ostracized, I am definitely ostracized. And then it all made sense. And then I made this video. But let me try to catch up with the comments here. Ash says, do you only take stories through email? I want to talk about the time I made TMZ Family Dynamic, the friendship group I cut off after 10 years. What it's like being an exotical in Little Rock, Arkansas. I love Arkansas. That's really random, but I like Arkansas. I have a good relationship with Arkansas. But yes, I do take stories. You can email me at exoticalsunited@gmail. Hold on, I need to like fix the plug on my computer really quick. But you guys can keep typing your comments. Okay, hold on. If you guys hear the sound quality changing, it's because I'm going in my closet right now. There's a dog barking in the hallway, and it's so freaking annoying. Okay, hold on. Let me sit on the floor. Can you guys still hear me? Rosemary G17 says, hey, Exoticals United, I'm Asian, but I've been listening to you for over a year and I've learned so much. You also are really funny. Love you. Aw, love you too. Welcome to the Pretty Girl Club. So, by the way, when I use the term Pretty Girl Club just means like a subscriber. You know, you're a subscriber, you support this community, so you're a part of the Pretty Girl Club. And then Exoticals are my core audience. Gigi VV says, does Jackie benefit from featureism? Are you talking about Jackie Aina, the makeup girl? I think that a person can benefit from featureism and still be considered unambiguous and still have the unambiguous monoracial like experience. So I think that's the case for Jackie Aina. By the way, if you hear like a sound in the background, that is not me farting, that is the door. Ash says, I am trying to break onto the internet. Are there any exoticals in the Arkansas area? If you're an exotical in the Arkansas area, you can either comment or you can probably message this girl. By the way, fun fact, a few years ago, I seriously considered starting to have like meetup groups, like in real life. I seriously considered that at one point. And I was going to try to have people sign NDAs so that like I don't get doxxed or anything. Or I was thinking like I could just organize it and then I could tell you guys that I'm not going to be there, but then I actually show up. Yeah, so that was something I was thinking about doing a while ago, but I never did. And I'm not going to now because people are crazy and they're trying to stalk us. Ethereal Blacktop says Jackie Aina has narrow features. She does not have traditional wide African features, let's be real. So, Jackie Aina, I think that, like I said, I do believe that you can have slightly more narrow features, but I don't think that benefiting from featureism is always the case. Like, whenever I talk on my channel about benefiting from featureism, I'm talking about to where your features are so keen or they're so quote unquote different to the point where people are mistaking you for being something else. They're mistaking you for being mixed. They're calling you a different name other than just African American or black. So that's why I talk about like Somali or Ethiopian or like Eritrean women on this channel, because I have seen several times where people have literally stereotyped them as Arab, myself included. This is back when I was in my hometown. I wasn't in a very diverse area. Moonstone says Naima Tang is a dark skinned black woman makeup artist, but she doesn't get as much attention as Jackie Aina. I'm pretty sure it's because she has a broad nose and is much darker. Yeah, I know who Naima Tang is. She's very dark skinned, like ebony skin tone. Ethereal Blacktop says, why is Naima Tang not bigger than Jackie Aina? I agree. And also Jackie Aina wears a lot of blonde. She does a lot of honey blonde, a lot of wigs and stuff, to the point where her actual hairline is literally lighter than her skin tone on her face, because that's how much she covers her hair with wigs. Her whole face literally has more of a tan, and there's like an outline of where the lace used to be. Um, Let me look at the rest of these comments. Flip K6486 says, I don't know if it's because I'm bi, but Nick is clearly gay to me, or at least bi himself. My gaydar is iOS. I totally agree. I 100% agree. And you know why? Part of it is Nick is poly, and he's talked about being poly. A lot of men who are poly, I mean, come on. The poly to gay pipeline or the poly to bi pipeline, like, I don't know of a lot of people who are poly who are just straight. I don't really know of a lot of people like that. Think of the type of people that are poly. Neo, he's poly and he's also sus as hell. So many people think that Neo is gay and he's also poly. So I agree. I actually was looking at a picture of Nick today and I got annoyed because he was wearing like two hoop earrings. Well, they looked like small hoops in the photo. And I was thinking, ew, like I instantly got the ick. Because like men who wear like two hoop earrings and like, their hair is tousled to the side and they've got a bayang, I'm like, that looks extremely feminine. So I was literally thinking that when I was looking at a Nick photo today. Gigi Vivi says, I never believed they were in a real relationship from the start. Not gonna lie. Caroline says, yes, girl, done with living in the Caribbean. I'm an American woman now. That's hilarious. Okay, so you immigrated from the Caribbean to the United States. That's really interesting. Well, I hope you like it in the US. Ash says, I don't be seeing enough exotical hashtags I search on Facebook. I didn't know that you could search hashtags on Facebook. I need to get on Facebook. Oh, by the way, please follow my TikTok. I am active on TikTok now at exoticals.united. I am so excited. We have 1,000 followers now on the Exoticals United TikTok. That's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, thank you for following. Claus UZ1 says, would love to, but it's a lot to expand on in this chat. I'll forward a story to EU. This girl says, I want to be an AKA before I graduate. Yeah, well, maybe they have them on your campus. Um, one of the Creepyoticals was saying that they are trying to, I guess they're trying to expand and show that they're diverse. Monochromatic Blue says, I've been blackmailed by my whole island for being light skinned with nice hair. I am so sorry. Wow. Blackmailed by the whole island. That's a new one. You're famous. You are famous. Like I said, we get treated like celebrities. So I'm not surprised. People trying to blackmail you, trying to extort you, trying to get you pregnant, or trying to get pregnant by your male counterparts. Biggie Shorty says, I agree. The unambiguous ones are mean as F. Okay, I have to scroll down just a little bit to try to catch up because I'm like hundreds of comments behind. Chelsea says they need to give up the blonde. Anytime I see a woman who has curly or afro hair and have blonde, I wish they would leave the blonde alone. Yeah, I feel like blonde, it can be hit or miss. It's like if I'm gonna do blonde, first of all, I'm too scared to actually bleach my hair because I love my hair texture and color. I feel like it's very unique. So I don't want to change it. I'm so scared of messing up like my curl pattern or just even with the blonde. I know that if you want to get rid of the blonde, you basically have to dye it back. But I've noticed on some girls when they dye their hair back black, the areas where it used to be blonde, it's still a little bit lighter than the actual black. So that kind of scares me away from dyeing my hair. Maggie Pie says, I'm thinking 4C grows slowest because of the curl pattern. By the way, shout out to Maggie Pies. You are one of the top commenters on my channel. Oh, can you guys hear me? Hello. I hope you guys can hear me. Chelsea says, real 4C hair, what is that? So apparently the quote unquote real 4C hair is the hair that looks like peppercorns. They call it peppercorn hair. It looks like little balls. Like it grows in little balls on your head. So, yeah. Mikala746 says, I feel like any hair can grow if you take care of it, but not all hair will be long, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like the whole hanging down your back thing, that's a type 3 thing because only type 3 hair can grow down or hang downwards like that. Annie Day says, I think 4C hair is 4C hair no matter where you're from. The only difference might just be moisture and how well it's cared for. Yeah, I didn't get what they were saying when they were saying African American 4C versus like quote unquote African 4C. Summer says, when you take your hair out too much, it can also damage. When you take your hair out too much, oh, like changing the style, like taking it out of braids and stuff. Well, I just feel like if your hair is 4C, like the girls I know of that have always had long 4C hair, generally speaking, they just kind of let it be. So they just let it grow in the afro, or, they keep wearing it in the same bun or a puff or like a low bun or whatever. And then they kind of switch the low bun up, and that's it. Grace Life Exotical says the natural hair community still has liars telling black women to not put oil on their hair in between washes. It's so unhealthy for the scalp. The scalp needs oil. Yeah, some of their rules, I don't follow those fucking rules because that shit, I mean, for me personally, all of the nostalgic 90s hair care rules, all of that works on my hair. So, hair grease, pink lotion, um, using those teeny tiny black rubber bands or like, maybe even wearing a bandana if I want to. Like instead of a bonnet, I can wear like some sort of bandana or something. I don't have to have a bonnet on my head or like a silk pillowcase. My hair has never ripped off because it was touching cotton. So for me personally, my feeling is like if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. So I just do what works for me. Or they say, like, don't use mineral oils and all that. I love mineral oils. Or they say, don't use silicones. My hair loves silicone. So, yeah. Chelsea says, I hope they break up. It's ridiculous. It is a ridiculous relationship, and Olandria can do better than pandering to delusional black women. That's always been her downfall so far. She was pandering to Shelley on Love Island towards the end, and she ended up being Shelley's sidekick, which she didn't have to be. Olandria was trying to be multicultural on Love Island. Like in the beginning, Olandria was cool with Huda. She was cool with Iris. So that's why I never had a problem with Olandria because I was like, okay, she hangs out with everybody. She's not one of those girls that tries to be cliquey and be a bully. But then when Shelley started beefing with Huda, Shelley has I felt like Shelley's anger was contagious onto Olandria. So I know that wasn't Shelley's intention, but I feel like Olandria is sensitive to anger. She's sensitive to people being angry at her. She is sensitive to black women's anger in particular. So I felt like when Shelly got angry on the show and started going off on Huda, that's when Olandria started following her. And I also felt like Shelly was kind of I feel like Olandria didn't have to listen to Shelly's advice about giving Taylor more of a chance or kind of like waiting for Taylor. I don't think Olandria had to do that. But yeah, I agree that that seems to be her downfall. Pandering to black women or kind of following whatever the trends are with other black women. I think that Olandria should have just gone her own way the entire time. And also outside of Love Island, she should just go her own way instead of worrying about what other black women think of her. Fro Fairy says the breakage is definitely from over manipulation. When I stopped doing that, my hair started retaining so much length. Yeah, because the 4C girls that I know in my family whose hair is always long, I mean, it's all of them, their hair is always long. It's because they don't manipulate. They don't do a whole bunch of braids and weaves and wigs and then a fake ponytail, and they don't do all that. Maggie Pie says, do people really think FBA 4C hair and African 4C hair are different? Yeah, apparently it is. And they had a whole scale. But I feel like some of them also call it 4D hair because they were saying that they said that the real 4C hair cannot be permed. It can't be relaxed. The relaxer doesn't work on it. So I guess for 4C you need a super perm or something like that. But some girls who supposedly are claiming to have the real 4C, they're saying that the perms do not work. You can't perm their hair. It's never going to have that relaxer look to where it's like straight and silky and like, it stays straight. So yeah, that's what they were saying. I mean, I don't know and I don't really care. Grace Life Exotical says, I don't understand anything about the real 4C conversation. I had no idea that was a thing. Yeah, I didn't either. And I didn't know that braids were out here ripping people's hair out. I thought that was the one hairstyle that was like supposed to be healthier because they talk so much shit like, oh, well, it's an Afrocentric hairstyle. Oh, well, I'm celebrating my African heritage by wearing braids and faux locks and everything. I didn't know that that kind of stuff could also break your hair off and wearing the gems in your hair and all that. Monochromatic Blues says the Homer tribe in Africa protects their hair with butter and clay, and their hair is very well kept. Maggie Pie says, wait, there were men here? Yes, there were. When I first started this YouTube channel, I used to collaborate with male like creators or well, they used to come on my streams and stuff. That's back when I was a streamer. That's back when I was a struggle streamer. I mean, I guess I'm still a struggle streamer. But yeah, there were men here. But they were trying to get me. Remember I talked about how like men were offering me money. Well, it was only one guy who offered money for me to become one of those red pill girls and I was like, "No." And that was back when do you guys remember Jessica X? That was back when she was on YouTube. I think she is gone now. But yeah, they wanted me to be kind of like that and I just don't that's not why I created a channel. Like I didn't create this channel for male validation, but I do support MLS men having their own communities and stuff. And I think it's awesome actually that they're making channels. Apparently there are several MLS male channels and I'm glad that they're also speaking up and they're not letting unambiguous black men bully them. So that's really good. I don't really know a lot about their channels. I haven't watched a lot of them. I did recently watch a video from Mulatto Vanguard, but that's the only one that I've watched. I think there was another guy. I thought his name was like For Light or something like that. I could be wrong. Maggie Pie says, I really hope not because that's so ridiculous. Or Chelsea says, I hope not. That's ridiculous. Moonstone says, has anyone ever noticed that whenever an unambiguous woman has long type 4 hair, it's usually someone who is non FBA? Since they want to go there, I just thought I should point that out. I have never heard that talking point. That's a great observation. That's a good observation. Even Jackie Ina, you guys were just talking about her. She is not full African American. I don't remember what the other side is. I think she's maybe African American and she could be like Nigerian or something else. Um, but that's a great point. Monochromatic Blue says, I just hate ugly souls in general. Fro Fairy says, I do think 4C, I think FBA 4C is different from African 4C. I personally believe most FBA African Americans have either 4A or 4B. Okay, well, yeah, I have noticed that they like to change the hair chart all the time, which really irritates me. Because it's like, okay, which one is it? Why are you changing the hair chart? Like, no matter which way you change it, you're still in the same range. That's why I just give a range, like, okay, type 3 hair. Because people want to argue over, okay, what's 3A, 3B, 3C? And then I say type 4, and people want to argue over, okay, what's the real 4A and 4B? Summer X67 says, is Shira 7's advice that good? I am 16 and want to actually try it. I like Shira 7. I don't think her channel is for 16-year-olds though. I think she is more for like maybe 21 and older. Um, yeah, because I've heard her talk about with young girls. I haven't heard her say that any of her advice is for 16-year-olds. This also is an 18 and older channel, Summer. But I'm gonna let you stay here for now as long as you don't cause drama. Usually I don't let teenagers on this channel, but it's okay. JT Hellstrom says, I never thought you should do that. McCullough says, what's FBA? So it means Foundational Black American, I think. Like African American. So I'm American, by the way. So this is like an American based channel. I know that I have a lot of people on here from like all over the world, so that's really cool. Christian Christian Michelle says, when you grow up. I don't know if that was towards me or towards the other girl. Wodab says, I'm watching the playback. In my case, as a Haitian American with 4C hair, my hair grows fast. It just grows up instead of down, like it's supposed to. Exactly. So I think for the hair length check, instead of doing t-shirts, they need to figure out something else. Maybe you can write with a Sharpie on your wall, like how they would measure little children's heights. Why don't they do that? Why is the standard of hair length hanging down your back? You know, that puts my hair on a pedestal. Oh, I got hang time, you know. West Princess says black women are obsessed with interracial relationships between black women and white men. Olandria is the it girl right now because of her relationship with Nick. I do agree. I think that if Olandria and Nick were to break up, let's say Olandria breaks up with Nick and gets with somebody black, oh yeah, that it would be over. It would be over. She'd be canceled. They'd be warning her, or they'd be like, "Oh, you're going to become a baby mama." And by the way, let's not forget that Nick never called Olandria his girlfriend to this day. He never said, "This is my girlfriend." He never did a hard launch of her as his girlfriend. And even Taylor, the dusty one or whatever, the one where they're like, "Oh, he's playing in her face." Even Taylor had a broken leg and he still did an entire girlfriend proposal to Clark with like hundreds of roses and like it was all over social media and everything. Even he, not being able to walk, still put in more effort for Clark than what Nick did for Olandria. And even Taylor and Clark, even Taylor on an interview was talking about how him and Clark say they love each other. Also with him and Clark, I've never seen Taylor's ex dancing and shaking her ass saying, "Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me?" and throwing jabs at Clark. I've never seen that with Taylor, but I have seen that with Nick. So I actually think Nick is worse. He's a way worse quote unquote boyfriend or fuck buddy or whatever he is. He's way worse than what Taylor was. And Nick is not monogamous, by the way. He's poly. Chelsea says, I've seen ethnically Nigerian and Ghanaian women who grew their hair to waist length, just like other black Americans. If you just treat your hair well, it will be long or at least healthy. Yeah, and I feel like in the case of Olandria, if her hair is long and healthy, her natural hair, why not show it? And then I saw people saying, oh, well, people wear wigs for various reasons. They wear wigs because maybe they have health problems. Okay, well, where's that empathy for the exoticals? Why don't you keep the same energy with light skinned black women? Why do you only say that when it's somebody dark skinned, somebody unambiguous? Monochromatic Blue says black women hate when light skinned women who date light skinned men. They hate when light skinned women date light skinned men. They're always trying to gatekeep that stuff. Yes. They will say things like, you look like siblings, or they'll say, like, your kids are going to come out ugly. Your kids are going to be vampires. Your kids are going to be translucent. Your kids are going to be see through. Or they'll say, like, there's not enough melanin in that relationship. So it's like this feeling of being left out. That's what it is. They feel like they're going to be left out of the relationship. They want sexual access to somebody light skinned. They want genetic access to somebody light skinned. They want that in their gene pool so they can continue saying, black people come in all shades and my cousin is light skinned. My sister is light skinned. She got green eyes. Let me try to keep up with these comments here. By the way, if you hear me in the background, it's because I'm walking to the kitchen. I'm going to get some more water and I'm going to get like a sip of my little latte. And by the way, that was the door opening in the background. That was not me farting in the background. So don't try to comment. One time I made a video, it was a beluga video, and there was like a little bit of background noise, and somebody was like, I can hear your stomach growling while you're recording the video. You're anorexic. And I was like, are you really listening that hard? Okay, I'm back. Otaku Vegeta7 says, hi. As an African man, I find Exotical United's videos interesting somehow. She does expose a lot of truths though. Yeah, I think my channel is very interesting. It is a variety channel, so I make a lot of different content. The thing that sucks about variety channels is you do kind of you tend to grow slower in the algorithm, and I think that it takes you a longer time to find your core audience. But that's why I love being a variety channel though, because I'm never going to be trapped in one niche. I'm never going to be trapped by my own content. You'll never hear me complaining saying I don't want to make colorism content anymore, because I make so much more than just colorism content. Chelsea said, when did FBA become a thing? I believe it was started by this guy, that Tariq guy, the guy who talks about, I don't know, he talks about like African American culture. So I'm pretty sure he's the one that started that phrase. I'm pretty sure he probably created that phrase, kind of like how I made the term MLS. Gigi says, I've never heard of an FBA. Yeah, it's kind of a new internet term. Maggie says, I noticed it became a thing. Yeah, when Tariq Nasheed started using it. I am not sure if it was popular beforehand. Yeah, I feel like he was probably the one that came up with that. That was the guy that was beefing with like Cynthia G. Summer says, yes, OMG, I had to block a friend yesterday because it's just monitoring spirits. Grace Life Exotical says, FBA came as a way to make a difference between immigrant black nations and the slaves' family members, not to separate cultures, but to identify yourself. And I like that. I agree with that 100% because people don't realize African American is a culture. And it really ticks me off when they try to erase African American culture or pretend like it's not a thing. It's like, okay, you want me to accept that you are a Nigerian American. You want me to accept that you're Caribbean American. So why can't you accept that I'm African American? Like, why is that suddenly a problem? So yeah, I'm actually glad that people talk about that. Monochromatic Blues says it's still anti light skinned women and light skinned men. They be doing humiliation rituals on the LSN. What is LSN? Light skin ends? I don't know. Maggie Pie says, I feel like he is the neighborhood residential surrogate online daddy. What? Who's the online daddy? I'm just kind of popping in and out of the comments. Like somebody said, honestly, I think the FBA term originated from the Hotep space. You know what? That's such a good phrase to call it. Yeah. And I feel like the black empowerment, the female black empowerment space, it's a female Hotep space. That's what it is. You're a fucking Hotep and a white supremacist. You're a black female Hotep. You're a Hotep for black women, and then like a white supremacist for white men. So that's exactly what that is. By the way, if you hear me shuffling around, it's because I'm like plugging in my laptop right now. Hold on. But yeah, it's giving Hotep. Okay, monochromatic blues says they won't admit they colorist, even though they dark skinned. But that can't work on me because my dad is dark skinned. Yeah. Oh, come on. You know the name Exotical is not dumb. It actually sounds nice. Well, now it sounds nice now because we're becoming popular now. But I thought it was an idiotic name. That's why I named myself that's why I named this channel Exoticals United. Because my concept was, okay, I'm going to take the dumbest insult that they called me. And also, if you're calling me an exotical, that means you're basically calling half of the black community. You know, half of what people are identifying as black, you're calling them all exoticals too. So if I'm going to leave this space, then I'm taking all the exoticals with me. So guess what? We are now the Exoticals United. And then my profile picture, it used to be a picture of a whole bunch of women, like kind of representing this exotical space. By the way, please follow my backup channel, Exoticals Unfiltered. Yeah, that's my other channel. I've been becoming active on there. So usually if you don't see me posting here, you'll see me posting somewhere else, whether that's Patreon, my TikTok, or the Exoticals Unfiltered, or my members page. So, yeah, if you don't see me on here and you're addicted to the exotical content because you can't resist us, then you can follow that channel too. Miss Butterscotch Princess, I love that name. She says to them, MLS and biracial women are resources. If you aren't willing to be constantly used, they will discard of you. I was a chairwoman of my local NAACP, was told I was being used to appeal to white people. Yeah, it's almost like a pimp type of thing. They want to use us as the face of blackness. We're being used as the beauty standard of blackness as well. And by the way, have you ever noticed that they have a habit of telling us, "Oh, well, you just look black. Well, you look black. Beyonce looks like every woman in Houston." You know, they're saying stuff like that because we're pretty. If we were ugly, if Beyonce would have been fugly, they wouldn't say she looks like every black woman in Houston because they wouldn't want to be associated with being ugly. They say that because we are pretty. They think we're pretty, so they want to put us in their group so that they can ride the coattails of our beauty. Maggie Pies, thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, she said, Tariq is the online daddy. It seems like whatever he makes popular, men start parroting like tether. They're tethering after him. That's funny. Yeah, he's I haven't really watched a lot of his content. I've seen I think one video. The only thing I know about him was that he was obsessed with Cynthia G. I mean, I just feel like, everything I'm talking about now, I kind of don't know what to say sometimes about other creators because now that I've also had big creators coming for me, I just feel like as this channel gets big, once I hit 100K, I'm going to be a fucking menace. I can only imagine what's going to happen to me once I hit 100K. We've already got people trying to dox us. We've already got people trying to stalk, so like in my case, I just feel like it's going to be crazy. It's going to get wild out here in these YouTube streets. So that's also why I said I hope you guys start channels as well before this space gets infiltrated, and before this becomes mainstream. Because I notice a lot of creators, a lot of new creators, they're already secretly watching my channel and copying the talking points and stuff like that. Which I actually don't care that much because, that helps me get paid. You get paid off watch time, you get paid off of Patreon subscribers and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna get wild out here as this channel keeps growing. Chelsea, thank you so much for the super chat. Shout out to Chelsea6779. Aaron C7D6D says being mixed in the black community means you have to tap dance to prove you're black enough. In the same way, FBA people talk about tap dancing for white people. Yeah, and I think that a lot of people they tap dance by dating too. I've noticed that some women tap dance by dating black, like unambiguous men, and then some men tap dance by dating unambiguous women. Kind of like how a lot of black women tap dance for whiteness by dating white men. So I think dating can be a form of tap dancing, trying to prove that you're down with that group. trying to prove that you get along with that group, trying to prove that you fit in with those people by dating or sleeping with people in that group. Tosh MUA says that's exactly how I felt about their channels. Moonshot or Maggie Pie says that's also where Tether came from. Yeah, the thing I love about YouTube is that you can always tell the OG creators. Like you can always tell who's going to be a star creator versus who's just a parrot creator or a copycat creator because whoever the big creators are, I notice they always create a language. That's a sign of having an actual community. It's when you're creating words, you're creating phrases and nicknames and stuff. So even though I don't necessarily follow all those creators, even though I don't necessarily like their talking point, like Kevin Samuels, I don't like I'm not a fan of Kevin Samuels, but I still respect just how YouTube works in general and how you can always tell which creators are actually building a real community based on the language they use and based on the language they're able to create. That's why people are so threatened by the exotical space because we actually have our own language over here. So that's a sign that we have a very strong, very passionate community. I would argue we have the most passionate community on YouTube because I've never seen other channels where they have hundreds of channels created just based on, somebody. Well, I guess you could say maybe the red pill people, but they don't really create their channels and say, I'm a red pill person because men in general don't tend to get along and build communities like how women do anyway. But yeah. Divine Goddess 386 says, I remember Chrissy complaining about Beyonce putting dark skinned exoticals in her brown skinned girl video. Yes, I also remember Chrissy complaining about I think it was a Kendrick Lamar video or something where it showed dark skinned exoticals. It showed dark skinned women who were mixed. They were biracial or they had like keen features and straight hair. So like a Somali type of woman. And she was complaining about that, saying, they don't look like quote unquote regular and unambiguous. That's actually where the phrase unambiguous came from. It's Chrissy. She's the first person I heard use that term. And I'm glad that they created that term for themselves too, because it helps to separate the talking points. Moonstone says, I've noticed that the DDS Instagram page, she's talking about the Divine Dark Skin Instagram page. She said it usually favors women who benefit from the isms. Meanwhile, the more unambiguous looking ones get less likes. Yep, they that's why I said texturism and featureism are bigger than colorism because they don't even admit or acknowledge when it's happening. That's how I know that it's alive and well. Colorism, they'll call out colorism, but they don't call out texturism and featureism. They think that dark skin automatically equals unambiguous blackness, but deep down inside they know that that's not the case. Okay, I'm glad you guys can hear me. I'm sorry, it's so loud in the city right now. That's why I'm like sitting in my closet. Monochromatic Blue says when you're light skinned, you are never black enough, but white enough for certain political stuff like Malcolm X, Bob Marley, Zendaya. Yep. Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois. Yeah, and also I was gonna do an episode on HBCUs, aka historically biracial colleges and universities, because that's really what they are. That's really what they are. That's why I'm still pro HBCU because they're historically biracial colleges and universities. They're dominated by biracials or they were started and popularized by people of mixed heritage. So, yeah. Chelsea says she complained about dark-skinned women just because they're pretty. Lord. Prince Amor says, how do you feel about brown-skinned men experiencing colorism or being incorrectly categorized as light-skinned? It is frustrating for me because I identify as dark-skinned. So I've never heard of a person who identifies as dark-skinned being categorized as light-skinned. But on this channel, we actually voted on what colors we consider light-skinned or not. And then in my case, I consider brown to be a variation of dark skin. You're just like a lighter dark skinned person as opposed to like an ebony colored person. So that's how we do it on this channel. I don't know how MLS men are doing it on their channels. It seems like some of their channels are more focused on identity a little bit more, kind of like Mulatto's channel. His channel is focused specifically on like black, white, biracials, like 50-50 black, white, biracials, like a black mom, black dad, or whatever, or black mom, white dad. Um, but how do I feel about them being incorrectly categorized? I think that skin tone is subjective. So, I don't know what country you're from, but some people consider certain tones to be light and some people don't. So that's why on this channel, it was very important for us to actually take a vote because we have an international audience here. So that's why I was like, okay, all of you guys are here. Let's all take a vote. And then, based on all of our experiences across the world, we can come to a collective decision on what we consider to be light or dark. But I've never heard of somebody dark skinned being thrown in and out of being light skinned. You're not dark skinned if people are calling you light skinned. Jess6161 says, how does Jackie Ina benefit from featureism? Yeah, I don't consider her to benefit from featureism enough to be considered quote unquote exotical. Because remember, the whole concept of an exotical means people are telling you things like you look mixed, or they're telling you things like you have white features, or you have European features, or you're benefiting from isms. You get accused of benefiting from isms enough to where you're alienated from unambiguous black women. Jackie Ina is not alienated enough for me to take her case seriously. She's not, I don't see Jackie Ina being alienated to where other unambiguous women are like, oh, I can't relate to her. She doesn't look like me. That's not fair. She has a tiny nose and I don't. I don't see that from her. So when I talk about an exotical who benefits from featureism, especially one who's dark skinned, that is the exotical experience. It's not being able to have the sisterhood because of your features. So if you're just, slightly benefiting from featureism or, slightly benefiting from texturism, like, oh, I have African American 4C. Okay, that's not enough to where I feel like you are a part of the exotical space. And that's also a part of why I have so many videos too, because I do feel like this is a nuanced conversation. I'm not trying to discount, these women's experiences, but yeah, I just feel like if it's not enough to relate to the exotical space, like if you're offended by the exotical space or something, usually it's because you're not one. The exotic brown skin, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Shout out to the exotic brown skin. Be sure to follow her. I am really excited about all the exotical channels. More of you guys are starting channels, which is awesome. I wish I could keep up with all of them, but if you guys tag me, that's how I can see your channel because I do check my tags probably about once a week or so. Monochromatic Blue says, it doesn't matter your hair texture. Once you light skin, you light skin. Same as dark skin. It's not about hair texture. So yeah, I think you're still going to benefit from colorism. If you're light skinned with 4C hair, for example. So Chaotic with JD podcast says, hi, Exoticals United. I'm a Southern American Creole. Oh, I love Creoles. Shout out to the Creoles. I love you guys. I have a lot of friends that are Creole. So yeah, I fuck with the Creoles. I'm a South American Creole, and I noticed that when I come to America, oh, wait, a South American Creole. Wait, do you mean Southern, like United States, or do you mean South America, like Latin America or something? Because the term Creole, some people, when they use that term, they just mean mixed. But she said, I noticed that when I come to America, people really like telling me I'm trying to distance myself from blackness when Creole is mixed black. Yeah, they're telling you that because they're trying to trap you in just the black identity. That's why. And again, you're probably pretty, so they're probably just trying to associate with your beauty. Chelsea says, do you believe unambiguous black women can still have pretty privilege? Yes, I do. Olandria is a good example of that. But my channel, I'm not responsible for promoting the beauty of a group of women that I'm not a part of. So I think that's what ticks me off is when people try to force me to acknowledge unambiguous women's beauty when they're not acknowledging exotical beauty on their channels. I don't go on to Chrissy's channel and say, oh, well, do you think exoticals are pretty? Well, you need to say they're pretty. And by the way, this is not against you, Chelsea. This is just in general. Um, but yeah, my channel is not a place for unambiguous women to try to come to be validated for their beauty. And I'm not saying it like I'm going to put you down or whatever. It's more so that this channel centers promoting the beauty of women that can relate to my experience. So that's all it is. It's not like trying to make a hierarchy or anything. Moonstone says she has a slimmer nose and is on the lighter end of the dark skin spectrum. Monochromatic says you can still get sued if you do a DNA. Oh, an NDA? Is that what you're talking about? Somebody says Jackie looks Nigerian. Her nose is just contoured. Yeah, I agree. She looks like Yoruba or something. Like I see a lot of Yoruba people who look like her. This person says, did I miss the topic about Olandria? Well, we've been kind of like jumping throughout topics on here because this is a Creepyoticals gossiping stream. So whatever you guys want to gossip about and talk shit about, you can just leave it in the comments section. It can be as messy as you want it to be. Well, I don't know. It depends. No guarantees that I'll respond to everything, but yeah, this is just a messy stream. Grace Life Exotical says, I love Megan because that's been my experience. Not dark enough. My hair is too different. Both of my parents are black. What do you mean? It's sickening. Brittany says, as a generationally mixed person, I feel like this is the only place I can be myself. In black spaces, my identity is often diminished and compared to biracial people, not mixed enough. It's tiring. Yes, that irritates me as well. I don't like when people put mixed on a hierarchy. Like, okay, well, you're not as mixed because you're not 75% white, or, you're black and Asian, so that's not as valid as somebody who's black and white. I don't like when people do stuff like that either. And I feel like that's really a Blackistan talking point. It is. Trying to create a whiteness hierarchy. Where they do that at? That is a black trauma talking point. Blackness is at the bottom, and whiteness is at the top. So if you're mixed, the closer you are to blackness, the closer you are to the bottom. They're making blackness the standard for like not being shit. And then they're making whiteness the standard for being at the top, which is, yeah, I disagree with that too. Maggie says, I think unambiguous black women can benefit from pretty privilege. Remember Slim Kim? She was trending on TikTok and people got pissed off because she said she likes being skinny, but she was pretty. Yeah, and I think that people even coming over to the exotical sector to ask about unambiguous women is mentally ill. That's mentally ill and insane. That's no different than the black women on TikTok who comment on Asian men's posts and they say, do you like chocolate? Do you date black men? They're basically asking me the same thing. Exoticals United, do you like chocolate women? Do you think they're pretty? Do you think 4C is pretty? Do you think I'm pretty? Well, do you think they have pretty privilege? Well, do you think they're cute? Are they just as pretty as exoticals? Well, are we the pretty girl club too? Divine Goddess says she was really mad about that and said Beyonce was not an ally to black women. I was so surprised that she was mad that there were different variations of dark skin in her video. Yeah. Jess says Nick does seem like he's gay. Jesse says Polly makes sense. He's gay. Yeah, exactly. Pretty Beige Jazz says, wow, alive. Yes, I am on a live stream. Monochromatic Blue says Neo's definitely gay. Yeah, I don't consider him to be straight. Grace Life Exotical says, that's how I found this channel. Apparently my blackness isn't enough, so let me find where I fit in. The curly girls are over here, so I sit here in the pretty girl club. And I think a lot of people are really just jealous of our branding. They're jealous that I branded this channel as, we're the pretty girl club and exotical tax and, all these little phrases, little cute phrases, and all of our beautiful editing and all of our imagery that we use, like the Pinterest photos and stuff. I didn't see any creators specifically using Pinterest images as their slideshow photos. I've never seen that until after the exotical space became a thing. So I think it's not just jealousy of you benefiting from isms. I think it's also jealousy of your collective image. This channel and all the exotical channels have done a fantastic job at actually like improving or promoting our collective image. They've done a great job. And especially with the diversity we have like in the exotical space. So you got me, I'm the unhinged, decentering men style creator. Then you've got some exoticals where they're married, they have kids, some of them are Christian, some of them are really young and like in college, some of them are like older. We have women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that I know of. Some of them are ex-workers. We have so many different, like there are some LGBT exoticals as well. There are some exoticals that are like they have totally different talking points than me. They're not decentering men creators. They talk about all kinds of different subjects and stuff. So that's what I like about the exotical space. I like the diversity. That was the whole point. My channel is kind of like an intro channel into the exotical space. That's why it's called Exoticals United. This is not, because sometimes people, they come on my channel, they're like, you don't talk about dark skin exoticals enough. Well, you don't talk about 4C enough. Well, you don't talk about biracial exoticals enough. Well, you're against mulattas because you don't talk about mulattas enough. Well, you don't talk about Blasians. And it's like, this channel is not supposed to put one exact type of exotical above the other. That was never my purpose. So that's why I tell you guys to make your own channels because if you are Blasian, for example, you're going to do a better job talking about being a Blasian than I would because your actual experiences line up with that. So you're going to have more authority in that area. Or like if you have children, I don't have children, so I'm not going to be an expert on that. So anyway, yeah, that's what I like about the exotical space. JT Hellstrom says, Exotical Proud Lena put up a post about you. Is she trolling? Because she doesn't look exotic and she took a close up pic of herself with a wig and acne. Not kidding. I don't know who that is, or at least I don't remember right now. There are so many exoticals. Chelsea says it's a hit for looks, but over time, it almost always destroys your hair. Very few have come back from that with still healthy hair. Yeah, talking about like blonde hair. Annie says, wow, just goes to show that nothing will ever suffice. To complain about something like that is just embarrassing and mentally weak. Miss Butterscotch says, I messed up my hair from bleaching it. It used to be to my waist. Yeah, I'm pretty lazy with my hair as well. And I always end up chopping my hair. It's such a bad habit. It's just because I get bored. So when it gets long, I'm like, oh, I'll just chop off like 8 inches. And then I'll be like, why did I do that? Divine Goddess says consistently wearing type 4 hair and protective styles and a lack of maintaining moisture is what's causing hair breakage in black women. Yeah, it's not protecting shit. It's not protecting anything. Gigi says my hair loves silicones and oils too, especially coconut oil. Same. My hair loves coconut oil. You know how some girls are like, "Oh, my hair is protein sensitive." No, my shit needs some protein. My hair is fucking over moisturized. I've never heard of type 4 girls talk about their hair being over moisturized. That is a type 3. I'm convinced that that is more of a fine hair type 3 problem. And I have low porosity hair, still over moisturized. So coconut oil is my holy grail because that stops my hair from being over moisturized and having hydro fatigue. And that's also why I don't really care for doing a lot of wash and goes. Like I stopped doing that, like the wet buns and the wash and goes every day because it was making my hair have hydro fatigue. Chelsea says, you ever see normal black women who stop trying to fit in with toxic black women? They thrive and suddenly have no problems. Like, I really think toxic black people drag others down and they allow it. Yeah, it's not your color, it's your culture. I feel like for a lot of women, it's not their 4C hair because there are women with 4C hair who are like alternative black girls and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's more so your culture that fucks you up. Coming from a toxic dating culture, a toxic communication culture. I've noticed the kind of like Blackistan communication style is basically violence, beating people's asses, whoopings, pimp slapping people, backhanding people. So yeah, or just like throwing drinks, becoming belligerent, yelling, shouting, antagonizing people, bullying. This person says, OMG, I forgot about Jessica X. What happened to her? She did the Paris Milan shuffle. That's funny. Yeah, I think she got doxxed or something. And then she took her channel off. So maybe she really did get doxxed when they were saying they doxed her because I noticed after that she went away. But she was a red pill content creator, so that's different than me. I'm not a red pill person, but yeah. Monochromatic Blue says the fraternities and Freemasons work together in the Caribbean to upkeep colorism. Oh shit, that's crazy. Summer says yes, well, braids and that stuff only breaks hair. When you change it like every week and keep getting styles so fast, it's supposed to stay in for a while so your hair can grow. Maggie Pies or Chelsea says, it's so refreshing when you see them. Happy, not angry at every ism, and just loving themselves. They're also nice to MLS and mixed women and don't have toxic spirits. Generally speaking, confident women are nice to me. I get along with confident, pretty privileged women of any race. It's only the insecure, ugly ass, basic Betties, edges falling out, alopecia, jet black lips from smoking 24/7, sparking up 24/7, living in a ghetto ass neighborhood. It's only those types of women that tend to just not like me because they stereotype me as being stuck up. Shay Charday says African 4C versus American 4C is identical. Those are just self hating black American women who hate their African ancestry. I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like 4C is 4C. Type 4 has a different set of problems or, it grows differently than type 3. So I think that people trying to divide everything up, oh, well, it's 4A, 4B, 4C. Okay, the differences are not so big to where you have to do all that. So I feel like it's just another categorization that people use to create a hierarchy. Kind of like, oh, well, my hair is not the real 4C. Her hair's nappier than mine. That's basically what it is. Oh, well, my hair's not as nappy as yours. Moonstone says Angel Ramirez Jordan is an MLS man who made a video about dark skinned black women. So I think I remember who you're talking about. He was kind of like a pro black woman, almost like a panderer from what I remember. um, Somebody said, who invented the hair chart? An MLS man invented the hair chart, actually. Monochromatic Blue says, Shira 7 is okay. Isn't she a GF? I wouldn't recommend her. What is a GF? A girlfriend? I don't know. I mean, I like Shira 7 though. But yeah, we have a lot of different women in this space. So, I know some of you guys like hypergamy stuff. Some of you guys don't. Some of you guys like red pill stuff, conservative stuff. Some of you guys don't. Lana says Canadian exotical. Shout out to the Canadians. I love Canada. I have been to Canada several times and I plan on going back. Moonstone says Angel Ramirez Jordan is an MLS man who made a video about how dark skinned black men hate MLS men and dark skinned black women. Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen his channel in a really, really long time. But yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. The guy with the long hair. Maggie Pie says she is a wife, but her techniques are definitely not for anyone under 21. Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is they're being codependent on these content creators. The reason that I speak highly of somebody like Shira 7 is because she's one of the few content creators who actually tries to be authentic. Like she actually shows you guys where she lives. You know where she lives. She's talked about it. She has shown herself and her daughters and their lifestyle and vlogs. She actually had the guy, her husband, come on to the show and she did several live streams with him. She told you guys her whole entire life story with him, the good, the bad and the ugly. She has no problem sharing her flaws or being transparent. So at the end of the day, I respect the transparency and the authenticity of her content. So for me, it goes deeper than just, well, what are they talking about? And they're talking about hypergamy or whatever. She is not a dating channel. So I think what kind of irritates me about the whole Shira 7 thing is people are putting her on too high of a pedestal that she didn't ask to be a part of. She is not the end all be all. She never said that she's some sort of dating guru and like this is how you find love or whatever. She has said hundreds of times, I'm not teaching you how to find love. Stop stop looking to my channel to be a romantic, like to be the standard for romantic relationships. So I think the people that get mad at her, it's because they're putting her channel in a different category than what she puts it in. And it kind of reminds me of my channel. People, they they mis they misconstrue my talking points, or they miscategorize my channel, and they say it's like a colorist channel, like I'm against dark skins or whatever. And then they do that so that they can try to smear my name. So they're arguing with talking points that I never said. And I feel like people do that with Shira 7 as well. But that's also just a part of being popular. That's a part of becoming a popular creator. And my channel is going down that path to where in the next 10 years it is going to be like that as well. So, I'm prepared for people to like talk shit about me as well. But yeah, her channel is not for teenagers. Her channel, she has said on there several times, if you're young, go out and date or whatever and fall in love. And then once you're done with that, once you're older, and once you like wake up, then come back to this channel. But also, I feel like people shouldn't be looking to YouTubers to guide their lives. That's a form of codependency. Don't do that. That's why I try to announce on my channel all the time, I am not an advice channel. Do not look to my channel for life guidance because I'm learning right along with you. Also, you don't know who I am, so I can't, you can't really vet me or whatever. Like with Shira 7, at least you can vet her. Like she shows who she is, you know who her husband is or whatever, you know the story between them. But like, I feel like some people, they don't have an intuition. They're not following their intuition. And so they're looking to external, they have an external locus of control. So that's why they blame. Like I saw some people even blaming like Shira 7 for their dating problems. It's like, what the, you've never even met this woman. Michaela says, OMG, I needed this so bad, girl. I just logged on because I was finishing up a final for grad school, exotical tax. We have so many educated, pretty girls in the room. Shout out to the college girls. She said, I hope everyone is having a great night and staying warm. Yay. Well, congrats on finishing your final. It is final season, actually, because it's December. So, yeah, that's final season. I remember when I was in college, it was October was midterm season, and then around this time was final season. So, you might be in your last week before Christmas break, probably. But yeah, yay, educated pretty girls. Shay Charday says, as someone who has visited Africa a few times, if you drop your average Black American woman in the middle of Africa, you will see no difference. Yeah, because I've seen some people, they try to make it like African women are so different. Like, oh my gosh, she's so dark. We don't look like that. And it's like, meanwhile, there are hella African Americans who definitely are dark skinned. Like this argument that most African Americans are just these light skinned, light eyed, blonde haired, look like Rihanna, look like Beyonce. That's false. That's why I also get mad when they say to exoticals, you look like a regular black girl. Well, that's not true because the average monoracial black woman does not have light skin colors, light eyes, freckles, or, light blonde hair, type 3 hair. And then they'll be like, oh, well, every African American person is mixed, which is also false. And I know what article they're referencing. That article was done, they did a study on 2,000 people. They only surveyed 2,000 people. And also, generally speaking, if somebody is getting a DNA test to begin with, it's because they know that there is some mixture in there. You don't really see people who are monoracial and dark skinned signing up and paying $150 to get a DNA test to begin with. So they're trying to take that article and they're making it as if the standard for blackness is mixedness when it's really not. So that irritates me. Also, it's almost like some of them don't want to be associated with looking African, or, they make it as if being dark skinned is weird or different, or like, oh, there are no dark skinned people. When I know, as a person who went to an HBCU, I was actually shocked. I was expecting for there to be more, mixed race people, but I would say as a person who has gone to an HBCU and as a person who has traveled, especially throughout the United States, I've been to several different like majority black cities. A good 85% of African Americans that I have been around are very dark skinned and chocolatey and have 4C hair. So, yeah. It's almost like they're trying to exotify themselves, and it's like, I'm not saying that blackness can't be exotic, but yeah, it's this fight to approximate themselves, and, suddenly there's this talking point of, "Oh, well, all of us have the same experience. We all look the same." Well, blackness comes in every single phenotype, every single shade, and it's like, "Okay, but where did their phenotypes come from?" It came from mixtures. Grace Life Exoticals says, "Do you not know the history of Black Americans?" So I don't know if they're trying to argue with me or if they're trying to argue with this creator, but this is not a space to argue with one another in the comments. Nobody knows everything about the history of Black Americans. Monochromatic Blues says some folks get into relationships not knowing how to protect themselves mentally and physically. They can be young or old, and a lot of folks admit what Shira does. Situation awareness, kind of. They admit what Shira does, or they're trying to do the same thing that she does. And that's another thing, too. Everybody doesn't look how Shira looks. So like if I was looking for some sort of advice or somebody aspirational or someone to kind of look up to or whatever, if I was looking for that, I would go for someone who actually looks like me. Like in Shira Seven's case, a lot of her audience, I don't think a lot of them even look like her because you'll go on her live and see some of them commenting and they have these extreme pick me mindsets and you can tell that they're like kind of newer to her channel. They don't really understand anything. But yeah, I think that's another mistake. That's another bad social climbing tactic. It's looking to women who don't look like you. They don't have the same options as you or pretty privilege or whatever. They don't have the same background. Shira is mixed. She's Puerto Rican and African American. And she might be something else. I just don't remember. But I do remember the Puerto Rican and African American. So she's like an Afro Latina multiracial. So a lot of people, they don't have a multiracial or multicultural experience. And so I think that also can limit their like dating options or whatever. Class assignment says I'm locking my hair, and some people are upset because my texture is quote unquote good. This is annoying and stupid. Locks are my next adventure now. My black and Indian Caribbean hair, my choice. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I need to catch up with these comments because I'm like behind. Okay. Shay Charday says, I'll say this. In my experience, I had a few people tell me they thought I could fit into a specific ethnic group. Maggie says, monitoring spirits creep me out. I had an old coworker I hadn't talked to in 2 years send me a picture of myself that she took while I wasn't looking. I'm like, what the hell? And that's how I know that we get treated like celebrities. That's exactly how people treat exoticals. Taking pictures when you're not looking, that's some celebrity shit. Bitch, are you the paparazzi? You're turning into the paparazzi in this bitch just so you can take a picture, so you can get an off guard picture of me? Or it's like they try to take pictures when you're not looking so they can like expose you, like they want to expose how ugly you are. Okay, so you're acting like a tabloid. You're a tabloid. And I'm the fucking star because you're busy taking pictures of me. And why would somebody want to try to expose you from a bad angle or whatever? It's like they want to see you in a vulnerable state. That's what it is. And I also feel like that's why some women like watching shows like Baddies because they like seeing pretty women getting abused. They like seeing pretty girls get their ass beat. They like seeing a girl with a pretty face get it all messed up and get a black eye. It satisfies an inner fantasy for a lot of those types of women. JT Hellstrom says the whole argument about biracial women with white mothers versus black started with Tariq. Sin G countered by saying it's the opposite. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Um, I don't pay that much attention to that space. I still consider it almost like a variation of a Hotep space, both Cynthia G and Tariq Nasheed. Um, but yeah, that's very interesting. So they're the ones who started the whole black versus white mothers or, you know, who's like what's the psychology of some, and also it's very interesting that you've got people who are not a part of the biracial community dissecting the biracial community. Isn't that interesting? And don't try to give the argument for the trolls watching. You can't try to give the argument, "Oh, well, the exoticals, you guys talk about the black community." Well, according to you guys, we're all just black, right? You guys are one dropping us into blackness. Okay, so if you're one dropping us in, then guess what? I get the N-word pass. I get to dissect blackness. So until the black community themselves decides what blackness is, then they can't say shit about what the exoticals are saying. And by the way, we did create a standard of blackness on this channel. For those of you who are new, it's if you have more than 75% blackness, so that's less than 25% admixture, we consider that to be a variation of like monoracial black. But if you're 25% or more of something else, it's laughable to say that that person is not mixed because their mother came out of the womb of a white woman. So if your mother came out of the womb of a white woman, I'm sorry, but you're not unambiguously black because that's just not how blackness works. Anyway, Emmy Exotica says, "Hi EU, I finally caught you live. I started my own channel, partially because I was inspired by you." Oh, not this channel. This one is just for comments. Oh, okay, so this is your commenting channel. That's how this channel started. And then I started making videos and now it's this. She said, "This channel is just for comments. You made me realize I have a lot to say." Yay, Emmy Exotica. Oh, I love your little avatar. It's so cute. Maggie says, "If I hit 100K, I would be insufferable. Can't tell me nothing." Yeah, I already told you guys I was going to start acting a fool once I hit 10K. So I'm already acting a fool. One West Princess says, "I understand that. I just don't agree with not being able to tell the difference between a average black woman and a woman from a country in Africa." Yeah, I think it probably depends on what country you're going to, because remember, Africa, there are a lot of countries in Africa, but I'm pretty sure she means that a lot of black people in America are dark skinned with 4C hair, which I agree with. A lot of African Americans are they're unambiguous. And by the way, if someone is African American and has admixture, or maybe their admixture shows up in their phenotype, that is totally fine. I respect that. I don't have a problem with people embracing their admixtures or celebrating their admixtures or whatever. The only thing that I don't like is when people try to erase my talking points by trying to make it as if, "Oh, well, everybody looks like you. Well, everybody has the same experience," when we don't. So, yeah. Monochromatic Blue says, "You'll get that 100K, hun." Thanks. Monochromatic Blue says, "I like exoticals as long as they ain't stuck up." Oh, wait, is this a guy? Monochromatic Blues, are you a guy or a girl? I thought you were a girl this whole time. Shay Charday says, "That's fair. Also because I am in the Bay Area." Oh yeah, you just reminded me. I wanted to talk about like how women are saying they can't move to certain cities because like apparently if you're black you're just fucked if you go to like LA or something. But as exoticals, I feel like I've never felt like there's a certain city where we're just fucked. But she says, "I'm in the Bay Area. I'm around a lot of blacks from the diaspora, Africa, Caribbean, and UK. So that probably also impacts my perspective." JT says, "The whole argument about biracial women's with white moms versus black." Oh, I already read that comment. Okay, let me try to catch up with the comments here. And by the way, I don't want to see a lot of arguing back and forth with each other in the comment section because remember, this is a diverse space. This is also supposed to be a safe space. This is supposed to be like a think tank. That's how this channel is set up. It's not set up to create a hierarchy of opinions. So you're going to come across other exoticals and stuff where they may have a different background or they're from a different country or whatever. So, I can't keep up the comments. I can't keep up with all the comments, but I hope you guys are being respectful in all the comments. And if I see people antagonizing others, they're going to be blocked. And they might even get flamed on the live stream. This girl says, "You created a space for yourself out of necessity. I think it was a great response to adversity." Thanks. This was started because, well, it was because of the reasons I told you, like being inspired and like me wanting to troll. But as far as why I made my first video on this account, that was supposed to be just me trying to get back into editing and like practice my editing software and like get back into a creative mood. Because at the time, I was supposed to write a book. I never wrote the book. I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't. But at the time, I was supposed to be writing a book as my hobby, and I was experiencing creative like writer's block. And I was like, oh, I haven't done anything creative in a long time. Why don't I just start tinkering with videos and just, uploading? I never thought anybody would see it. And it was very cringy, but I'm glad I was like, oh, let me try to like use a voice changer and everything. um, because like, I thought the content was so embarrassing and I thought that like my channel would get banned. And I was like, this channel will probably get banned after I upload this video. But I just wanted to kind of practice my creativity and then people started commenting. The comments are actually what keeps me going on here. It's not the subscribers or the views or anything. It's literally the commenters. It's the fact that you guys are so passionate. And like when I first started this channel, you guys were leaving like paragraph comments. I'm talking like 500 words. And so that always inspired me to create more content. So that's why I tell you guys, if you are going to start a channel, like, you don't have to have all the ideas for content when you first start out because your community will give you ideas with their comments. Hinny Winnie says, by asking someone, am I pretty? Do you like chocolate? You subliminally affirm that you don't think you're pretty. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, when people come onto this channel and they say, well, Exoticals United, what do you think about unambiguous women's looks? Do you think they're pretty? What do you think about this? It's like you're admitting that you're kind of questioning your beauty or that your presence on this channel is causing you to question your own beauty. And that's not what this channel is for. This channel actually was not created to be a rage bait channel. That was just a side effect. And I was like, okay, cool. This is making people watch me. So I'm going to keep doing it. If being messy gets a response, I'm going to keep being messy. If doing creepyotical live streams gets a response, I'm going to keep doing it. And yes, it is like subliminally affirming that you don't think you're pretty. Michaela says all a white man has to do is rap a verse and unambiguous women think he wants them. Yeah, and what's the obsession with like who says what in a rap song? Like, do women listen to rap that much? Because I don't really listen to rap unless it's female rappers. And it was crazy because once the female rappers came out, I was like, wow, so this is what men feel like. This is what they felt like their whole lives listening to rap. Because I was never interested in rap until women started rapping. Then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I feel like a badass listening to this. I feel like a gangsta listening to this. Monochromatic Blue says, saving the energy for the beach and a V cocktail. I'm getting too old now. Everyone is very unique and beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Lana says, question for fellow exoticals because I'm trying to figure out if I am brown or the deeper end of light skinned. For example, if I tried to talk about colorism, people would look at me wrong. I'm in a uni, a baby exotical. Oh, yay! Another college exotical. That's so exciting. Congratulations on having gone into college. That's an amazing accomplishment. Um, but as far as being light skinned or not, we voted on what Fenty shades we considered light skin. You guys voted Fenty shade 390 and above. So for reference, a 370, I believe Shira 7 is like a 370. I don't know why or how I remember that. I don't know if that's her shade all the time, but like that's an example of a 370. And then as far as a 390, we had a picture of the girl. So you can just check out my What Color is Light Skin series. An example of someone who's about 350 or 330 is like a Rihanna. And then an example of someone who's like in the 200s would be like a Doja Cat or like an Ice Spice. So yeah, that's what color we voted on, being light skin. Indigenous Exotical says, my hair hates coconut oil, and I stopped using oils and butters, and my hair has been fine. I didn't grow up using those products anyway. I don't use a bonnet either, LOL, but I have a silk pillowcase. Yeah, I have a silk pillowcase now. And also, my hair loves serums. I have fine hair, so my hair prefers like lighter weight products. So like serums or even like the sprays, like the spray leave-in conditioner as opposed to those thick ass creams. The only time I wear like the pink lotions and stuff is if my hair is curly. Like if it's wet, basically. But if it's like not wet or if I don't want it to be weighed down, which is generally speaking, I don't want it to be weighed down, then I'll just put some sort of serum on there. Um, this girl says he gave gay vibes, but many unambiguous black women gravitate and thirst over light skinned men because they want to have kids with them for their futures. That's exactly right. They view it as a form of status to have sexual access to a man with these features or to have kids with these features. Because I mean, let's think about it. Oh, how do you overcome colorism? Oh, just marry a white man and have mixed babies. Problem solved. So they're looking to solve colorism by being colorist themselves and creating lighter babies. The way to solve colorism is to basically eliminate and stop birthing unambiguous dark skinned black women and men as well. You know, they talk about not birthing the men, and, you know, based on their actions, they're also not birthing the women. And then they'll say, "Oh, well, it's just because white men are the nicest to me, or, you know, I had trauma with colorist black men." Okay, so then you're dating out of a trauma response. That sounds crazy to me. Oh, I'm traumatized, so let me go hop on some white dick in order to fix my trauma. Do you hear how mentally ill that sounds? Hold on, let me get some water really quick. But I'm still reading you guys' comments. Okay, I'm back. And now I'm like walking around my apartment because it's like a little bit hot. Um, let me see. Oh, what is this tea? Maggie Pie says, I am not sure about the whole tea, but didn't Pink Pill have an affair with ARJ? I just remember him making a video about her sending him a pic in shorts or something. So I have no idea who ARJ is, but I do know who Pink Pill is. She's the one that creates the courses on like how to date white men or something. So I don't know. That's interesting. I didn't know she was married. I thought she was single. I didn't think she was like married. Sorry, I'm kind of like shuffling around my laptop. Hold on. Okay. So, infamous GSG says Shira is also a part of the right wing pipeline. So this is not a political channel, so I don't really care what what pipeline you're going down, or, you know, if you're right wing or left wing. I don't really care at all about that. So if she is Republican, I mean, I don't see the problem with that. But that's me though. I don't get offended by people who have different political views than me. Um, but I know that some people in the HOTAP community, they think that anything right wing is white supremacy, or, you know, they kind of feel like those are two sides of the same coin. And I think that they can be, but I also feel like you can be like a white supremacist and be a leftist as well. So, I'm not sure why you left that comment, but okay. And also the right wing pipeline, like when you say that right wing pipeline, the trad wife movement pops up in my head too. That's a part of the divesting and swirling movement. You know, being a trad wife to a white man, kind of this Nara Smith lifestyle. Well, they're very right wing. Nara Smith and Lucky Blue, they're Mormons. So it's like, you know, there's never going to be a perfect, people are looking for a perfect content creator. They're looking for a god to bow down and worship. There's no such thing as a content creator who does everything perfect, says everything perfect, has the perfect political views. They agree with everything. Like, what are you guys looking for in a creator? And I mean, this is not necessarily against this commenter, but just in general, like, that was just really random. But yeah, let me look at these other comments. Its baby says hypergamy, the type Shira talks about, is trad wife coded. And that is the archetype of the right wing male. You are forced to conform or turn hyper religious. So I don't think that she promotes being a trad wife. I've never heard her use that term. Actually, part of why I liked her is because she's one of the only creators that actually tells her audience to start a business. That is, I've never seen any other creators, well, other than me, tell their audience to start a business because usually that's like a bad business tactic. You don't want to tell others to start a business because that could compete with your business. So, starting a business, you're not a trad wife. Even Nara Smith said that she is not a trad wife because, she's a working woman, which she is. She does content creation. Um, but yeah, anyway. JT Hellstrom says the one drop rule has no place in this space. Yeah, exactly. Like in the unambiguous space, they get to dominate and they get to talk about colorism however they want. They get to categorize themselves and create nicknames for themselves, such as unambiguous blueprints and black girl magic. Okay, cool. So then I get to do the same thing. Monochromatic Blues said that's why they had the paper bag test and the pencil test. Yes, I'm familiar with both. I had both of those done on me when I went to an HBCU. I didn't know about the pencil test though until I was in college. I was like, the fuck is this? So for those of you who don't know, the pencil test was for your hair texture. Like if you put a pencil in your hair and your hair stays, like the pencil can stay in your hair, you're black because your hair is, it's like thick enough or enough of an afro to hold the pencil. But if you put the pencil in and your hair just falls, like the pencil falls out, you're colored or you're basically not black. Your hair's too fine. Monochromatic Blue says, if the dark skins don't accept light skins, we're going to be screwed because my two light skinned grandparents with wavy hair had multiple dark skinned children. I mean, yeah, just because you have a certain skin tone doesn't mean your kids will have that tone. This person says, you have no idea what you were talking about. Shira is not trad wife coded or white, right wing. Yeah, I never viewed her as that. But even if she was, I mean, who cares? Like, if you don't like it, you just don't have to watch that person. Um, yeah. But like I said, this is not even a political channel. I don't really care what politics you guys have on this channel. I don't care. Like in real life, I have friends that support Kamala, Trump, Republicans, Democrats. I have friends in real life who are, well, they don't call themselves trad wives, but they are married with kids. And then I have friends who are not, so I think some people who get mad about stuff like this, they're just monocultural, they're monoculturally left wing. And so they don't like anything that's right wing. And that's fine, but this is not a monocultural channel. This is a multicultural channel. So when you come on here, like when you come into my comment section and stuff, you're going to see a really wide variety of comments. You're going to see some people like agreeing with everything I say. You're going to see some people who have something else they want to add. And so that's normal. I support multiculturalism above all else. I'm never going to tell people, oh, you have to believe a certain thing. Divine Goddess says, I like your channel because I like seeing how your viewpoints line up against my own viewpoints. By the way, I'm a fellow ENTJ. Oh, yay. Shout out to my fellow ENTJs. Dia's Garden says, off topic, I love your voice. Thanks. I feel like my voice is getting kind of raspy right now. One West Princess says, all a white man has to do is date a black woman, and according to black women, even if he goes back to white women, he is really attracted to black women. But don't keep that same energy with black men. If they date even one MLS woman, that's so true. If he's black, if he dated one white girl, they'll say, oh no, that's who he really likes. That is so true. It's a double standard. This girl says Fenty lipstick. I don't know. Did I say Fenty lipstick when I was talking about the skin tones? I meant to say Fenty foundation shades. That's what we voted on. I'm sorry, I did not. I'm kind of like all over the place right now because I'm like looking at comments and then I'm like trying to talk in the mic and I'm like, I don't know. Um, This girl says, "Did you already discuss Olandria's hair ad?" Yeah, we did talk about it and how she tried to use the lace front and pass it off as her hair, and how people they shame exoticals for doing that, and they constantly call that out. If you're light skinned, for example, and you're wearing a lace front, they'd be like, "Oh, well, she's trying to pass that off as her hair." Kind of like how Chrissy made that video where she was like, "Oh, this light skinned girl, she's not even that light skinned, and she's got this wannabe Brazilian wavy, and I can see her leave out." So they're constantly making comments about how exoticals try to pass off weaves as our real hair, but then you got Olandria passing off a full blown 180 density 1B lace front as her hair. She even references the hair as my hair in the video. And then she's like spraying it with this detangling spray, which is BS because if you have a good human hair wig, you shouldn't have to buy a $30 detangling spray. It shouldn't be tangling that bad to where you have to purchase an expensive spray just to get that shit to untangle. So that didn't even make sense. Her ad didn't make sense. Shira's disciple says courses on how to date white men. LMFAO. Are they even rich white men? Exactly. Shira's disciple says Shira was making the same content since Obama's first term. She isn't a part of the pipeline. She will continue her content even when Dems are in office. Yeah, she's not a political creator, but I have noticed though sometimes in Blackistan they do make everything political, and it's like they prioritize their political identity above all else. So that's not wrong, but this is just, I don't center politics. You know how I talk about decentering men? I have decentered politics. So I really don't care what people's politics are at all. Divine Goddess says, in my personal experience, unambiguous women have a tendency to compete for men of all races, especially dark skinned black men and white men. Yes, they literally treat love like a competition. That is a bar right there. They're treating love like a competition because I've seen their TikToks and they'll be like, "Oh, light-skinned women are jealous of me because I'm being loved well." And it's like, "Wait, what? You're tracking if somebody is jealous of how much you're being loved? How do you even track that? And how do you even know that that person is jealous of you being loved?" Because notice how they never have examples. "Oh, well, these light-skinned girls are jealous of me being loved." Okay, give an example. What did she do to show that she was jealous of you being loved? Because it sounds like a lot of projection. They're making love into a competition. "Oh, well, I got more phone numbers, I get more love than her." Their definition of love is like compliments. Kind of like what's her name? The Danish deception girl. Her definition of love was basically compliments and spending time on the phone. Talking on the phone means you love me. Infamous GSG says, "I never said right wing was good or bad. I just said she is a part of it. How people feel about it is up to them." Well, I think that it's up to the creator to tell you what they're a part of. You can have your opinion, but yeah, you're not going to get me to bash fellow exotical creators on this channel unless they're light skin saviors, which I don't think she is. Monochromatic Blue says America is crashing right now and no one cares. I'ma be quiet. That's funny. This person says, "Why are you acting like the right wing pipeline isn't dramatically harmful to women, voting rights, pro choice, domestic abuse rates, and more?" Well, if you think that the right wing pipeline is so dramatically harmful, why are you commenting on random exotical channels as opposed to creating your own channel discussing politics? This girl says, "Oh, wow." JT says, "Most people don't really even understand politics." Yeah, that had nothing to do with this. I don't know how this turned into a political conversation. But this girl says, "Don't let them be married. A lot of them like to flex their marriage on other women, especially exoticals." Yeah, I agree. But that Olandria ad was cringe. And I've noticed that her and Nick are not really doing as many like appearances together. I think that honestly, it was just more of a business relationship as opposed to like a romantic relationship. So, what do you ladies think though? I've been on here for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. If you guys have anything else you want me to talk about, if you have any other gossip, I'm going to give you guys about like 10 seconds to leave your comments and then we can gossip. But if you want to join the Patreon, you can join that. That's usually in the description. I don't know if it's in the description of this stream. Um, but yeah, please join the Patreon. Chelsea says, "Can anyone see my comments?" I can see your comments. I can see your comments. I was just going through and I was trying to get rid of people who I feel are arguing with others here in the comments. Um, this girl says, "Show the ad." I am doing this on the free version of StreamYard. I don't know how to show the ad. I don't even know if it'll let me do that on the free version. But you guys can watch it on TikTok. I can also make follow-up videos where I do put the ad in there. But it was just like a 30-second ad on her social media. Somebody said, "I thought my Wi-Fi was acting up." Wait, can you guys still hear me okay? This girl says, "Glad your live is so long." Yeah, I'm trying to do like as many live streams as I can, and I'm trying to make them a little bit longer because I don't know when I will have as much free time. So I try to like take advantage of my free time or whatever. Okay, West Princess says, "What do you think about Cynthia and Ariana's weird interviews?" So Cynthia Erivo, I feel like she has this internalized mindset where she really badly wants to be accepted by women of high status. So Ariana Grande represents high status in every way. She has the pop star status, she has, status in the industry, she has the status of whiteness, she has this status of femininity that I feel Cynthia wishes that she had access to, or she wishes that she could like express that herself. So I can tell that she has a deep admiration for Ariana Grande. And Ariana, as much as I love her music, as much as I love Ariana Grande, I will admit she does give narc. She does. She definitely needs to feel that sense of admiration. And Ariana, she specifically likes being accepted by Black and like POC, like people of color. And we know that just based on her former aesthetic and, how much she wanted to have a fluid identity. So it's a mutually beneficial friendship. Is it a genuine friendship? I think Ariana won't be her friend anymore after the Wicked stuff is over because she's had a tendency to like revolve her identity based on her projects at the time. So, for example, back when she was Blackiana, when she had the Kankalon ponytails and the tan skin where she was like darker than Nicki Minaj, back during that time when she was working with Victoria Monet, she had a totally different cadence to her voice. She had a totally different personality. So she's one of those people that comes off as having no identity herself. And I think Cynthia is similar, but not as bad. Nowhere near as bad as like Ariana. And I think, yeah, it's giving like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like artistic codependency. It's like they're emotionally codependent on one another. They've trauma bonded based on doing Wicked, and they've implied that working on Wicked was like not the best experience for them because I just watched an interview today. I love Wicked. I'm obsessed with Wicked actually. I love musicals. I was just watching Wicked recently. I already saw the second one as well. So I'm very into I keep up with Wicked and like what's going on with it and everything. Um so yeah, that's what I think about the two of them. I think their friendship is definitely going to fizzle out, just like how all of Ariana Grande's friendships and romantic relationships fizzle out once she's done with the project. So I think she's just trying to milk this project and the relevance of it and she's trying to embrace this era or whatever, this Galinda era. And I feel like part of her friendship with Cynthia is also based on her character as well, Galinda. And I think that she tries to use this good girl image to her advantage. It's almost like she wants people to infantilize her. I can tell based on how she acts. She wants people to infantilize her. She uses infantilization to her advantage. You know how people infantilize women like, "Oh, she's just this little young innocent woman." She's not. But she's manipulating the public, or I guess you could say manipulating her own fans into thinking she's an innocent little girl when she's really not. She's what, in her 20s or 30s, and she's actively with that married guy or whatever. So for someone to try to promote this good girl persona behind closed doors, she sure doesn't have that. So I think she has some very serious mental illnesses for sure. And this is outside of the whole anorexic thing. I just think she has some very, very serious mental illnesses. It's way worse than whatever they think Cynthia is. Do I think Cynthia is masculine? Yes. Do I think she behaves masculine? Yes. Do I think that she defended Ariana? You know how she was like trying to save Ariana from that person? She's constantly primping and like preening Ariana. She's always fixing Ariana's hair and fixing her necklaces and stuff, and kind of like acting as her assistant. She definitely she embodies the sidekick vibe for sure. Cynthia? And you know what? When Cynthia first got her role, when she first got cast as Wicked, I thought that the black empowerment sector was going to blow up with videos congratulating Cynthia. I thought that they were going to be celebrating that as like a really good representation for their image, because it really is. She's a good actress and everything. But no, they didn't do that. So I thought that was kinda, like, disheartening, honestly. I feel like Cynthia, she suffers with constantly being overlooked. Think about how talented she actually is. Like, let's just be honest here. The fact that you're an actress and you can hold your own standing next to an international pop star on a movie, the fact that you can sing better than an international pop star, you can star in a movie alongside an international pop star and not be outshined, that says that Cynthia has a world-class talent. So I think for Cynthia, the psyche of somebody like that, having such talent, but then it's overshadowed by what? Your blackness or your LGBT. I know she's like lesbian or something, or I don't know. She's some sort of LGBT. So having your talent being outshined by other stuff all the time, I think that Cynthia also wants to ride the coattails or latch onto Ariana. It's almost like a destiny swapping vibe that I get from Cynthia and Ariana. Because, like, for example, I've had women like that around me before too, where they want to fix my necklace and they want to like brush my hair and they want to be around me 24/7. And, they just admire me so much. That's like borderline destiny swapping vibes. Like, that's what it gives. And I'm not saying that Cynthia is disingenuous. I don't think Cynthia is like a fake friend per se, but I do think secretly Cynthia would have loved to trade places with Ariana Grande in terms of popularity and fame and in terms of feminine perception, because she got the fucking man of the year GQ thing for defending Ariana. So because you defended a white woman, and I'm not trying to just randomly bring race into it, cuz honestly I don't really think that was about race. I think she was trying to protect her friend from the crazy fan, but it's like I do think that optically, you know, that does suck for the women who were looking up to Cynthia as their image representation or whatever. But this is part of why you don't do that. This is why you have to represent yourself. Because at the end of the day, Cynthia is LGBT. So she doesn't mind being called man of the year or being perceived as masculine. She is already gender fluid. So, yeah. West Princess says, I loved Wicked too. And do you see how Alphabet ended up getting the love interest? I don't see unambiguous content creators talking about that. Wouldn't they consider that a win on corrective promotion? Yes, because they think Cynthia's ugly. So she's never going to be a win for them because she looks too black and ugly, according to their talking points. According to their talking points, they don't like I said, broad features, dark skin, and short 4C hair. Cynthia doesn't have any hair. She's bald headed. So she is the exact antithesis of what they consider beautiful, even though she really looks like them in their natural state. Monochromatic Blue says, I mean, why the married man who leave their wife gets no heat? I agree. I don't like that guy either. Ethan, did I miss the Olandria thing? Yeah, we did talk about it. You'll have to catch the replay. Miss Divine says, I watched the movie with my dad. He says Galinda reminds him of me. and the good girly girl. In the good girly girl way, of course. Monochromatic says, I'm not an advocate for cheating, but the man who left his wife to be with Ari ain't no saint. I agree. He's trash. And he's dusty as well. Shay Charday says they want Cynthia to be Glinda. Yeah, and I think Cynthia would be Glinda if she could. But I feel like Ariana, she represents exactly what Cynthia is missing. That is whiteness and femininity. And I think that's part of why Cynthia is so attracted to Ariana as well. It's kind of like they have these opposite, almost like this opposite energy, if that makes sense. Ariana is kind of this good girl, cookie cutter, or she tries to be. She has that image, whereas Cynthia has the opposite image of kind of this rebel, this, this defying, even like her song, defying gravity. She's always defying stereotypes, trying to fight against something. Whereas Ariana is more so kind of like floating naturally. Shay Charday says they want her to be known for being the pretty girl, not the ugly girl. Yeah, that's part of why they didn't celebrate her, I can tell. So that shows that they don't actually value black women's talent. Just like the Creepyotical who emailed me today and said that a lot of unambiguous black women don't value unambiguous black women's talent. So it's the same thing. They're not giving her credit for her talent because she doesn't have the beauty. So they're overlooking her altogether. They're kind of treating her like whatever, or even saying she's a bad representation, partially because she doesn't have the beauty. What if it would have been like Coco Jones being Alphaba, for example? They would have been celebrating that. Like, oh my God, oh, Alphaba, Coco Jones, she outshined Ariana Grande. And she was, it would have been a totally different response having like a Coco Jones as Alphaba versus having a Cynthia Erivo. And also, they were complaining because Cynthia Erivo is Nigerian. So they were saying, like, oh, well, that's, Black American women are being erased. So the category for them, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Nobody's their representation. Everybody sucks. Shira's disciple says Cynthia is playing into, yes, she's playing into the mammy trope. I'm surprised she wasn't tightening Ariana's corset Hattie McDaniel style. Right. Divine Goddess says, it's sad how black women are too afraid to support women with their own phenotype. Yeah, they hate to see it in a lot of cases. Just like they did with the girl who she played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, Francesca. And then they were saying like, oh, they should have had Zendaya play that because the girl who played that, she played in a role with Tom Holland. That's Zendaya's husband. So they were like, oh, it would have been better if Zendaya played it. And then they were saying that Tom is like too attractive for her and everything. So, yeah. West Princess says, I love Cynthia's voice. It's breathtaking. Yeah, and it's sad that, they're not promoting her. If they can't be you, they will try to make their relationship with you as close as possible. Exactly. SSYHT. That's like a troll account name, but yeah. That's exactly what it is. If I can't beat them, I can join them. If I can't be white, I can have a white best friend. If I can't be white, I can at least fuck white. If I can't be white, I can at least have half white kids. If I can't be Hispanic, I can fuck a Hispanic man. At least I can have little Afro Latina exoticals. I can have little black Puerto Rican exotical babies. That's exactly what it is. That's why I said it's almost like a form of destiny swapping, kind of. But it's like they want to get the rewards of white proximity. JT says, Man of the Year in GQ magazine. If that isn't an obvious display by the dominant society to masculinize black women, I don't know what is. Yeah. And she agreed to do it. Chelsea says, Do you think the whole don't go to this specific area is really projection or like dark skinned black women not actually being self aware? Yeah, it's projection and it's their problem. The state of California, there is no magical city like, oh, this is just the promised land. If I just go to Italy or if I just go to North Carolina or Maryland, then I'm just going to have a great experience. That's magical thinking. And somebody who promotes magical thinking in terms of cities is Anwar Wright or whatever his name is, that dating coach that a lot of the black women are following. He's kind of like promoting this magical thinking. Oh, well, you should just go to Virginia. Oh, just go to North Carolina. So women are actually moving to these places, or they're like getting excited if they live in these places, and then they have this magical thinking like, "Oh, because this guy said, you'll get dating options in North Carolina, now I'm excited." And then they fail. But yeah, I think in a lot of cases for the whole dating failures, it's not your color, it's your culture. It's not, "Oh, it's because 'cause I'm dark. That's why nobody likes me." There are plenty of people who are dark who have normal lives. They're married or they're dating, they're just living their life. So why is it that all the pretty dark-skinned girls could do it, but then you couldn't? So it's just like they are definitely projecting. They're projecting, and then a lot of them are, first of all, tolerating Dusties. Like that woman who said she offered to pay for her own ticket to go to the football game, that is not a date. That is not a date at all. And then also, I have never been asked on a date via Twitter, and then I just say yes to a date via Twitter. I have no idea who this guy is. Like, women actually respond to their DMs? Like, you're actually so not only did she respond to the Twitter DM, but then she offered to pay for herself on that date from the guy who did the Twitter DM. So that's a sign of low standard. That's where your problem is coming from. It's coming from the lack of dating strategy or like having no boundaries at all. No boundaries or standards. Oh, this guy slid into my DMs on Twitter, so I'm offering to pay for going to the football game now. I would never even think like that. I would never even do that. So I think that's another like big part of their problems. Also, it's this over reliance on apps. Because a lot of them, if you watch that video, a lot of them met these guys from like random apps like Tinder and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's bad dating strategies. I think it's like not knowing how to make themselves available to be seen, or kind of like not being seen in the right places, not knowing where to go, not having social skills, kind of like the woman that was walking around Greensboro, North Carolina, and she's like, "Nobody's here, nobody's outside, nobody's looking at me. I don't even see people my age." Well, ma'am, do you have hobbies? Sounds like you don't have hobbies. Sounds like you just go to work and come home and you're just trapped in your apartment. What do you mean you don't even see people your age? That sounds like a you problem. So it sounds like you just don't have any hobbies. You never get out of the house. So then once a year, when you decide to walk downtown in Greensboro, then now all of a sudden you're all pissed off because there's nobody who's 33 years old in North Carolina. So you're telling me nobody else in North Carolina is 33 years old? Like, do you hear how entitled that sounds? It sounds like it's a victim mentality. It's entitlement. "Oh, I got dressed up and went downtown, so I need to be getting I should be getting some dick because, I'm wearing high heels and I'm walking around downtown." That's no different than incels they feel entitled to women. She was literally doing the same thing. So it's the femcel mindset. That's really what a lot of their problem is. It's a femcel mindset, just like the Danish deception girl. So, yeah. This person says, "It's crazy because I've watched Cynthia in interviews, and she's actually very soft spoken and eloquent. I feel like Ari has been copying her speech pattern." You know what? That's a good point. I agree. I think she is copying her speech pattern. When when AI robots come out, maybe black women can make a perfect one to represent them. Yeah, that's the only thing that's gonna suffice at this point. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Healthy Green Lifestyle. She says, "What do you think about Tammy Rivera's comment about Nicki Minaj?" I don't know what that is. I haven't heard about it. But you can put it in the comments and maybe I can like comment on it. Somebody said any woman taking advice from Anwar is down bad. Well, because with Kevin Samuels, he was gay or, he's sus. So it's like, okay, Kevin Samuels, you're like, oh, well, he's gay or whatever, or he's DL or he's sus. So I'm not going to listen to him, which I agree with. I'm not a Kevin Samuels fan. So, but I keep the same energy with Anwar too, though. So I don't care who his audience is. I don't care if he's a red pill person or if he's just another random gay guy. He's your friendly fairy godbrother. Anwar, I'm giving him the same side eye that I gave Kevin Samuels. It's like, how is it that someone who is not straight or, borderline not straight, going to tell straight women what to do? And then Anwar, he's like, oh, well, thousands of women have been helped from my program. And okay, so then where are the testimonials? Why is it that only one woman who paid 10K, she got married to a black red pill engineer? That's who she got married to. A short, chunky, no shade, but I'm just saying based on the Instagram pictures and everything, she got married to a short, chunky, dark-skinned black engineer, and she paid $10,000 for it. And she also admitted that throughout the beginning of the relationship, she was crying herself to sleep. Okay, so that is the quality of relationships that the woman gave as a testimonial from like Anwar. So why are people all of a sudden putting him on a pedestal? That's why I say that it's almost like this codependency. So I think that's really a lot of black women's problem in terms of dating and just in general. It's codependency, always looking for somebody else to tell you what to do. So you're no longer an African American slave. Now you're just an internet slave. Now you're a YouTube slave. Oh, I'm mad at Sheer 7 because my dating life failed. Oh, well, I'm mad at Anwar because I went to Greensboro and nobody was looking at me. Okay, so you went from being an African American slave to now being a slave to content creators. You're bowing down and worshiping content creators, or you're like looking at them as the end all be all when all we are doing as creators, we're just creating content. That's it. We are not your gods. Stop worshiping us. Stop putting us on this high pedestal like, we are your fairy god. We're not your fairy godmothers. And no, Anwar is not your fairy godbrother. He's not here to magically save you from your love problems. So a lot of people, they're looking to the internet, they're looking to content creators as almost like their prophets. It's like you're looking to these people as Jesus Christ. So yeah, I always thought that was creepy. Very parasocial. I think that's another issue. That's another bad social climbing tactic that a lot of women have with their dating. They're too parasocial with content creators. This girl says, I find it so funny that unambiguous women want to date the very men that are responsible for their representation in mass media. They'll date them but won't complain to them about their promotion. Exactly. If white men love you so much, unambiguous women, and they prefer you, why aren't you telling them to promote you then? They should naturally be promoting you. They shouldn't be promoting exoticals. They should be promoting you. Miss Divine says, damn, Twitter? Yikes, that's a whole new low. Yeah, the guy asked her out. She said the guy asked her out on Threads. He just DM'd her and said, oh, you don't know anything about football. Like, we got to go to a football game. And then she offered to pay for her own ticket to the football game. That's how they began dating. So it's like, what? That's already a mistake right there, ma'am. I don't know why you're expecting that guy to be a high quality man, whining and dining you. This person said, Kiva Exotical. Kiva Exotical Carmichael said, imagine telling your kids that you swiped right as a love story. That's funny. JT Hellstrom says, the average person doesn't travel more than 1.5 miles in their own hometown or for their whole lives. Yeah, and I heard another stat where it was like the average person lives within 5 miles of where they were born. That's crazy to me. Oh my God. Couldn't be me. Miss Divine says, I have hobbies. I just don't get out that much because, well, money. Yeah. And I think for the women who are having those problems, like money problems, I feel like if I'm having money problems, dating is going to be the last thing on my mind. That's the first thing to go is the dating. It's like, unless this man just pops up out of nowhere and he's offering to pay some bills or something, then dating is not going to be a priority. I'm not going to be walking around downtown. Like that girl in the video, she was like, oh, I'm walking around downtown because I don't have shit else to do. Okay, that's not my life. I have a lot to do. I have a lot of reasons to live. I have a lot of very important, fun, you know, cool stuff that like nourishes me. So no, I don't have this attitude of, oh, I don't have anything else to do, so I'm just going to walk around downtown. Now I'm mad because a man's not here. She was really mad because she wasn't getting stimulation. That's what she was looking for. She was bored. Her life was boring. And so she went downtown Greensboro to look for some stimulation. So it's like, I think another bad social climbing tactic that some of them have is they don't have the ability to stimulate themselves intellectually or emotionally. They don't have excitement in their own lives. And so they get their excitement from bashing exoticals on the internet, living vicariously through celebrities, being parasocial with influencers, and walking around downtown Greensboro looking for the male gaze. This person says Kevin was definitely gay. Chelsea says yes, Anwar promotes delusional dating tips. Like no type of social awareness comes to these women, but they don't actually want to acknowledge that. Always want to be a victim. And I think Anwar, he kind of just repeats back their own talking points to them. So whatever victim narrative they're giving, he's just going to mirror that back to them because, that's how he makes his money. I mean, I'm not mad at it. He's a businessman, but yeah. I mean, I would try if I had to pick between Anwar versus like a Shira 7, I would choose Shira 7 because Shira 7, she shows her flaws. She doesn't try to hide her flaws basically. She doesn't try to pretend like she knows it all. Anwar on the other hand is more like, just work with me or work with my team. Work with one of my sales associates and then like they'll help you. And I don't think that's a good, I don't trust that. Anytime a business person tries to create scarcity and then they want me to be codependent on their particular content, that's a red flag. This person says Black women love to take relationship advice from men who don't have the credentials to be giving relationship advice in the first place. They especially love listening to Black male dating coaches. Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good point because I noticed they give other people attitude. Like that one girl, Level Up, what's her name? Ashley Dalton, they give her pushback, but I don't see them doing the same thing with Anwar. They don't give him pushback. They don't call in on live streams and then try to talk shit or try to expose him or whatever. I don't really see that. Bubblegum says, have you heard about the black woman who had a 4C wig and black women were dragging her for that? I didn't. But you can email it to exoticalsunited@gmail and I can take a look. This girl says, thank you. If I'm broke, why would I date? Just get a job and find a hobby. Yep. They need hobbies. Anwar, the producer. I would pick Shira as well because at least she is a woman who has a successful relationship. Yeah, she shows her actual lifestyle and stuff like that, like with her vlogs and all that. And you've seen her go from her content back in the 2010s. You've seen her for a period of years, whereas some of the newer creators, you can tell sometimes they're just trying to go viral, or you can't build a business just based on virality. I mean, I think it's good if you're going viral and stuff, but generally speaking, the most genuine people, they're not going to be the ones who are always chasing virality. So that's why with Kevin Samuels, that's why that was another reason I didn't like him because I felt like he was chasing virality by trying to humiliate the women. And the same thing, honestly, even with Ashley Dalton, I do notice a pattern of kind of doing that as well. Maybe her audience likes that. I don't know. I personally would never do that to the exoticals. Like I would never have you guys call on here and then you show your faces and then we all critique what you look like and then we all tell you like, oh, you need to put on a new dress and your hair looks fucked up and and then I put in the title like, oh, this woman is she's delusional or she's begging for a man. I wouldn't do that to my audience. I don't think that's a really good way to build a connection with my audience. But I think another bad social climbing tactic is that, like I said, some women are just slaves. So they don't like, or I mean, they don't mind being treated like a slave. So they don't mind the whole Ashley Dalton thing where she comes on and talks to them like they ain't shit, basically, because they're used to kind of this slavery mindset where it's like, oh, I'm just leveled down and whatever. I don't want you guys to view yourselves that way. And I don't want you to need me in order to have self esteem. But yeah. Chelsea says Ashley Dalton gives them facts to actually level up. They don't like her because she promotes changing for the better. Well, if they feel like they're changing for the better, then that's fine. Um, yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't do that with the exoticals, is all I'm saying. I wouldn't use that tactic with my audience because I try to build a little bit more of kind of a sisterhood vibe where it's more of a safe space. But yeah, if they like that, then that's fine. I mean, I'm not a part of unambiguous black women's YouTube culture. So I do think their culture, it could be different. I mean, it is different than like the exotical sector. So that's fine. One West Princess says black women tend to talk like and use gay men vernacular. So I'm not surprised. All that ate down, left no crumbs, shade, yes, bitch. Gay men created those terms. They love gay men. Yeah. Kind of like Nick Olandria. Miss Divine says, I like the Wizard Liz way better. So I've never seen her, but I have heard of her. I can't remember what happened with her recently, but yeah. Anyway, I'm about to log off, you guys, because I'm getting a little bit sleepy, but I love you guys. And be sure to follow me on Patreon. But stay pretty, ladies.